Hello, guys, and welcome to the Stardom Cast, your weekly audio source of all things World Wonder Ring Stardom. I'm your host, Rob Goodwin. I'm joined by Mr. Matt Turner. And ladies and gentlemen, we have what is undoubtedly my favorite episode of the year. It's 5-star Grand Prix season. As we are recording today, it's the 21st of July. Sapporo Rendezvous is in the books. We've obviously got a Corrigan Hall show on Thursday, and then it is all systems go for the 5-star Grand Prix starting on the 27th of July. Matt Turner, can you feel the excitement?
It's the most wonderful time of the year, brother. I am excited. I had a nice little nap after watching the Sapporo
You
show,
did.
so I'm full of energy. Before we hit the record button, as I told Rob that he could not have picked a better date and time to do this massive show, one of our most looked forward to shows of the year, as my wife is starting to bake for the annual apple pie baking contest. We will have the results, Rob Goodwin, on Tuesday, so I will get them out to the masses when we record the Stardom Cast on Wednesday. So, folks, stay tuned to that for our regular Stardom Cast episode. But I'm ready to go. I'm rested. I got some protein coffee going. My wife did give me this lovely chocolate chip banana bread to eat, so that might happen about 2 hours into this episode. Karen Peterson has sent me in her predictions to win the tournament. Andy Header sent me his whole entire playoff bracket. I have mine. Amber has hers. I'm sure you have yours.
I do.
Really exciting stuff. Again, that Sapporo show, which again, obviously, folks, we will have the full review coming up this week, later on this week on the Stardom Cast, was a phenomenal show. I believe, Rob, that you reported that it was a sellout, and I didn't see many empty chairs other than in the main event when that chaotic. Yeah. Everybody was doing their best Bruce Dickinson and running to the hills, running for their lives. But buddy, I'm ready to go. This is our most requested, other than maybe the last two WrestleMania weekend episodes that we did with Philly and Vegas. This is one of our most requested episodes. I think it was a week or two after the Cinderella tour. People were asking, when are you guys going to do the primer for the 5-star Grand Prix? Are you guys going to have a bracketology? Because we know we have new listeners each and every week or every month to the Stardom Cast. And hello, welcome, and we thank you for your time and support. But I think it's been probably 2 or 3 people a week for the last month or so has been asking, are you guys going to do a bracketology? And again, I think it was the beginning of April. People were asking. I go, we do it each and every year. Here we are, my friend. Here we are. And this one, as I mentioned the last 2 weeks on the Stardom Cast, we decided to do this one as a complete separate episode, because I know there were times in the past that we would review the Stardom shows from the previous week and then do this one. And then it turns out to be a 4-hour episode. So we figured we'd break them up, make this its own thing, and make it special, Rob, because our listeners are special. And Rob Goodwin, you're a special gentleman as well.
Oh, stop it, you. Thank you very much. Yeah, man, I'm buzzing for this episode. Like I say, going through the brackets in minute, granular, almost annoying detail, only then to get completely tripped up by Rianne winning on the first night or whatever is going to happen in that 16 match card that we've got coming from Ota Ward on the 27th. But yeah, the way this is going to work, ladies and gentlemen, is for those on YouTube, you will obviously have all the graphics coming up as well. It's the one episode where I do encourage you to watch it on YouTube. But obviously, if you're in the car or something, don't watch it on YouTube while you're driving. That's silly. It'll be coming to you, obviously, in an audio format. We're going to go through a little bit of the history of the 5-star Grand Prix for those who are just tuning in. I'm not going to, go into the weeds of everything to do with the 5-star Grand Prix, but a little bit of history, the winners, things like that, the way it's historically gone. Go through a couple of interesting tidbits, and then we'll go through each one of the 32 competitors, each of the blocks, and how it has been formatted, the playoffs, and things like that. I do just want to shout out a friend of the show, Brandon, on our Patreon, who did point out that in the last episode of the Stardom Cast, I made a mistake, which I often do because I'm a tired little boy. But it is not Blue Stars A the person finishing second in Blue Stars A taking on the person who finishes third in the playoffs. I will go through that at the end, but there is a slight change with the way they are doing the playoffs, something that I didn't pick up. So thank you, Brandon, for correcting me.
Me neither, buddy. And I tell you what, when I was doing my bracket over the weekend, it makes for some potential interesting matchups when we get to the playoffs. That's for sure.
Really does.
When before we forget in this, what could be 2 to 3 hour episode, would this be the opportune time to plug our annual our 5-star Grand Prix contest, good sir?
Well, yes. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what we will be doing, as we always do, we will be running a 5-star Grand Prix pick'ems, completely free to enter. Now, at the moment, there will be a prize. At the moment, there may be a more special prize, but again, we are just going to have to wait and see. I'm not going to say anything other than that, just in case it doesn't come into fruition and then I sound like a tool. But there will be a prize for the winner, as there has been the last couple of years. The Pick'ems contest, and I will go into this a little bit more a little bit later on. The Pick'ems contest, I'm not going to get you to choose the result of every single match because I believe there's upwards of 100 matches. Just in the blocks. That's without the playoffs. So what we'll do is we will ask you for your winners, second place, and third place for each of the blocks, who you think are going to make it into the quarterfinals, who you think are going to make it into the semifinals, and then obviously your winner and runner up. And we'll also have a couple of other things in there, a couple of questions, just so that we don't get any tiebreakers, which we did do, I believe, the first year we ran this. So make sure you keep an eye on our social media. I will run the form probably either tomorrow night, so Tuesday night, or Wednesday morning. And I know that's not giving people a lot of time, but hopefully it will give you enough time to watch this primer and decide to go completely against me and Matt, which is probably the wisest decision if you're attacking this bracket in a way you actually want to win, because me and Matt are an absolute nightmare for just not thinking about it, just going with the heart, which is why I've still got Hazuki winning the tournament despite the fact she's not in it.
That's literally in the back of my head when you were going to say, who do you have winning the tournament? I'd be like, Hazuki. Like, wait a minute, she's not in the tournament. I think Andy Header has Megaton winning the tournament because that's the final the people want, Hazuki versus Megaton.
That is what the people want. That is what the people want. And rightly so. I mean, we are living in a blessed time in which Megaton graces our timeline on more than one occasion. But ladies and gentlemen, of course, the 5-star Grand Prix. Stardom have run this since 2012, which means that this is the 14th tournament that they have run, which is really astonishing looking back at the history of this. We've had a who's who of winners of this tournament. Everyone from the three daughters of Stardom. Io Shirai has won the tournament. Kairi Hojo has won the tournament. Mai Iwatani has won the tournament. Julia has won the tournament. Maika, the late great Hana Kimura has won the tournament. We've also had Gaijin winners as well, or Gakukujian winners, I apologize, such as Toni Storm won the tournament back in 2017. Still to this day, the only person to win the Cinderella and the 5-star Grand Prix in the same year. And it's a great honor to win the 5-star Grand Prix. And I say that simply because we've never had a repeat winner. So in the 13 tournaments we've had, obviously this one being the 14th, we've never had a repeat winner. We've only had 3 repeat finalists, and that was Utami Ayashishita, Yoko Bito, and Maika last year became the 3rd one. So again, Matt, getting through to that final, never mind winning it, is tricky enough.
Yeah, considering this is the largest field in the largest playoff bracket as well. Up until last year, they would always just have whoever wins the blue block and whoever wins the Red Stars block, that is your final. So there's really no playoffs. And last year, they went with the 8-person playoffs, which was great. It was really fun. We had 2 tiebreakers. If you remember, there was a 3-way tiebreaker with Mei Sarah, Azumi, and Tomoka Inaba that made from some really interesting booking from Teru Okada. That was really, really fun. And then Hanan, in the same night, she had to defeat not only Suzu Suzuki to to qualify for the playoff, but then Shuri and that was able to get her bid into the final night on that semifinals with Saya Kamatani. Now this one we were adding a whole nother, this is now 12 people in the playoff brackets, which, when it was first announced, you're like, wow, that's a lot. There's a lot of people. But then when, again, this past weekend, I was looking at just the brackets and the matches, I'm like, this is going to be so much fun. This is going to be so much fun because it's almost like, again, for you sports fans here in the United States, we have March Madness for the NCAA men's and women's college basketball, and it's a 64 playoff bracket where it's a really cool point where everybody fills out their bracket, what's going to be the bracket buster, who's going to make it to where. And this is just going to be really, really fun because obviously you're doing it with Stardom wrestlers, and there is a lot of people that can qualify for those playoffs because you never know who might sneak in to the playoffs. You never know who's going to be qualified, who's still going to have a shot at either that 2 seed or that 3 seed or that all-important 1 seed from each block to get the bye. But again, this is all stuff we're going to go over here. Again, the largest field, the largest playoff bracket. I'm so excited to hear what your playoff bracket is. And my playoff bracket, I'll obviously tell you what that is because some of it I even forget. And then obviously Andy Header, he sent his in. I just took a brief look at it. But there's a lot of people, Rob. There's a lot of people that can win this tournament. Again, I was just thinking about that this morning as I finished the Sapporo show, which we will be talking about, folks, because there was a lot of seeds planted on the Sapporo show from as we're recording earlier this morning that you're like, they're planting some seeds for maybe a possible win. So, Rob, just off the top of my head, I kind of have potential winners and then people that have like secondary chances. And again, just off the top of my head, I think people that could actually win this tournament are Saya Kamatani, Natsupoi, Soriano, Momo Watanabe, Starlight Kid, and Sari. I think those are some really, really good potential winners. And then kind of right below that, Hanan, Suzu Suzuki, Bozilla, Ami Sori, Azumi. Those are some really good shots at winning tournament as well. It's not like how it was in like 2022, where I think everybody knew Julia was going to win the tournament. 2023, I think we all had pegged Utami to win. We did find out it was supposed to be Saya Kamatani, but of course half the field got injured. And then it still was a really great tournament. I just went back and watched all of Soriano's matches, which will be a Patreon exclusive this week. But the 2023 tournament was still really good despite the injuries. I think last year a lot of people had pegged Mike and Saya Kamatani would get right about there towards the finals. Where this year, and again, Rob, you've been doing this podcast. Obviously, you started this podcast back in 2019. So you covered the 2020 and the 2021 5-star Grand Prix. But for me, it's looking like this is the most wide open field they have ever had.
It's certainly an interesting one. I mean, if you look back at the winners of the tournament last year, obviously Micah defeated Saya Kamatani in the final. I think the vast majority of us had Micah winning the tournament. Obviously, especially after losing the title to Natsuko Tora, which is a whole different thing. 2023 was open, as you mentioned, but was open for all sorts of reasons. 2020 was probably the most open tournament I remember. Looking back on it, there was quite a few people that could have won it. Obviously, they plumped through Utami and had Himika in the final as well. Really dominant Himika as well. At that point, Himika, I think, accrued the most points of anyone in the block stages of the 5-star Grand Prix with 11. So she was built really, really, really well. But I think 2021 was the Shuri story, so that made the most sense. Julia, obviously, if rumors are to be believed, was going to win the 2021 tournament and then got injured. So won it in 2022. Suzu Suzuki was sort of, I don't want to say parachuted in, but was parachuted in as the winner when you think that obviously it was going to be Saya Kamatani who got injured. Then it was going to be Utami who got injured. And then obviously it was Suzu Suzuki after that. But this year, there are so many different people that could win it. Obviously, I want to give a big shout out again to Andy, who I spent a lot of the night with at Pro Wrestling. Even he was telling me about how he's got a whole theory about how Saya Kamatani is going to win the tournament and select her own opponent for Dream Queendom, which he thinks will be Tam, and that's how Tam comes back.
There's a lot of people that have that theory. There's a lot. I know Andy gave it to you, I think live on air, and then you told it to me. And then like the next handful of days, I would just have random people like, I think this is a possibility. So there's a lot of people that have that theory. And Rob, I don't have a problem when your number one wrestler, who's your champion, wins said tournament, because technically that's the best wrestler in the company. And if it makes, as long as it makes sense, like as long as it makes sense. I remember in 2022, it was about the start of the 5-star Grand Prix. Sorry, not to interrupt you. I'm just remembering something. The start of the 5-star Grand Prix in 2022, she was the dominant champion going in. You knew she was going to have a good run, but a lot of people knew that this was going to be Julia's tournament. But it was about a week or so in when the rumors were going that Io was going to leave WWE and go back to Stardom. So I remember on the podcast saying, what if Shuri wins? What if they left hook it? Shuri wins, and then she chooses Io. But then obviously they wind up re-signing Io. And Io has done okay for herself these last 3 years.
She's done all right. She's been okay. She's kept her head above water in WWE over the last couple of years.
She's doing okay, but I have no problem. Again, as long as the story makes sense and there's somewhere to go and there's money to be made. And I'm not just saying this because I'm a massive Tam fan, but I wouldn't even think about this if it wasn't, again, Andy brought it up to you brought it up to me, and I've had about 5 or 6 people over the last few weeks say that this is a potential idea. And again, you make mention of all this stuff going on with Sai Kamatani and Natsupoi leading up to their championship match, which again, we're going to be talking about a little bit here, but diving a little bit deeper into next week, where Sai Kamatani on that last go-home show basically told Natsupoi, like, I'm fighting harder for Tam than you are. So the Tam Nakano name has been brought up quite a bit. So the fact that that's a real possibility throws another monkey wrench into what I can't wait to see what your bracket, my bracket, and Andy Hedder's mess of a bracket is going to look like when we get to the end of this episode. I'm so pumped.
I mean, I'll be perfectly honest, mine is an entire page just full of scribblings out. I mean, Blue Stars A, I've still only got 2 people coming out of that block at the moment, so I'm just going to wing Blue Stars A. But yeah, I mean, we talk obviously about the win again, a chance at the World of Stardom Championship, apart from 2 years. Every other year, aside from 2 years, one in 20, as I'm looking at my notes, 2014, it was contested for the Goddess of Stardom Championships when Io won it. Her and Yoshiko were unsuccessful against Seven Kairi. And then the other time was the 2018 5-star Grand Prix, where Mayu Iwatani opted to go for Momo Watanabe's Wonder of Stardom Championship and again was unsuccessful. And that's really key as well, because winning the 5-star Grand Prix is by no means a golden ticket to win the championship, because of those 13 tournaments, only 4 people have been successful in actually parlaying their win into a championship victory. Tony Storm was the first one to do it, and that was 2017. So before then, you had 5 unsuccessful attempts. Since then, Utami, Syuri, and Julia are the only people to successfully get a title, to gain the title after winning the 5-star Grand Prix. Obviously, last year, Micah unsuccessful against Tam at Namba Grand Fight. Yeah, there's a couple of different ways that they could go this year. And obviously, we are assuming that, as it has for the past, 4 years, it's going to main event Dream Queendom.
Last year
it doesn't necessarily. No, sorry. Yeah, last year didn't. I'm going to assume it is going to this year, especially if Saya Kamatani is still on top. But that's the thing. It's no guarantee that you're going to dethrone Saya if Saya is still champion at Dream Queendom, because again, not everyone is going to be a winner. So you could very much have a Natsupoi win the 5-star Grand Prix this year. Someone who you know is a rather left field pick when you look at the rest of the field. You could have Starlight Kid win and go title versus title. You could have Momo Watanabe win, and that's the start of her face turn. We saw again today at Sapporo her Erin aim with that baseball bat. She wiped out Ruaka this time with the baseball bat. There's several different ways that they could go, and especially with 3 people going out of the blocks this time, and again, that's the first time that they've done that. It opens a lot more doors, and that's something else I just want to bring up very, very quickly. Up until 2024, it was a 2-block bracket. And the winner of those 2 would go into the final. That changed in 2024, where they made it a 4-block bracket replete with quarterfinals, semi-finals, and then a final. They've gone a step further this year by making it 4 blocks of 8, with 3 people going through, with there being playoffs, buys, quarterfinals, semi-finals, final. So even more bang for your buck, as the saying goes, with 32 people, the largest tournament field in Stardom history. And that's just where I want to sort of start this primaries with a couple of interesting stats, a couple of by the numbers. And before we sort of delve into this, something I do want to talk about is red stars and blue stars, okay, which is the ordinary block split. And whilst ordinarily it's quite arbitrary, blue stars significantly have more winners of the tournament than red stars. Now, that might mean absolutely nothing. However, it is perhaps something to just keep in mind if you're someone that likes playing the law of averages. So, couple of things that I just want to go into. 12 tournament debutantes this year, the most of any tournament. There have been 97, by the way, total competitors, which is madness. Obviously, with this being a 32-person tournament, the largest field, as I mentioned, in tournament history, there are going to be a significant amount of first-time matchups, and that's no different here with 59 first-time singles matches happening throughout this tournament. Now, 11 tournament appearances is the record. Obviously, that was held by Mayu Iwatani. This is the first time that we are running a 5-star Grand Prix without Mayu Iwatani. And we should mention no Mayu, no Micah through injury, no Tam through retirement, no Sturi through injury, no Mina through departure, no Tekla through departure. Some big names missing from this year's tournament. But Momo Watanabe is the next person in line. Of all the people in this tournament, she has the most appearances. This will be her 8th appearance in the tournament. 48 is, and I know you always enjoy this stat, Matt, 48 is the most total block match victories. Again, that is held by Mayu Iwatani. Momo is closing in on that record, though. 34 is the most block losses, and that, of course, is held by Tam Nakano. She was the person with the with the most losses in the tournament before last year, and then went 0-6 before winning the title. So a very weird year for Tam, very weird tournament. But something I found quite interesting, if you're looking at block percentages, the person with the highest block percentage win of anyone in this tournament is actually B. Priestley.
Wow.
Who has only entered one tournament prior, which was 2019, where she was the World of Stardom champion going in. She has a win percentage of 62.5%. So again, she is someone to keep an eye on in this tournament. 16 points is the record in a block. Of course, that's not possible this year, but there we are. 14 is the maximum if you go 7-0 in the blocks. And then my favorite little stat, 8 seconds is the record for the shortest match in tournament history. And that goes, of course, to Saki Kashima, who pinned Hana Kimura in 2019. Of course, Hana Kimura would do all right for the rest of the tournament and would win the entire thing before, speaking of B. Priestley, unsuccessfully attempting to win the belt from B. Priestley. Matt, before we head into the blocks themselves and get really into the nitty gritty, is there anything else you want to add to that?
As always, buddy. I mean, I always praise you in private and public. Your stats are phenomenal. Like, I'm looking at these. Most of these don't know. I know the Mayu. You like to tease me on the Tam thing, and I always like, oh, well, who left last year's 5-star with the red belt is my rebuttal. Always great stats. And again, the one that really points out to me, maybe just because it's a return to Stardom and this tournament, B. Priestley, if you're rounding up, 63% win percentage. That's amazing. That's amazing. I'm really looking forward to see what she's going to do in this tournament. I'm looking forward to her block. Really great stuff. Before we get into everything, I don't know if you were going to cover this. This is something real quick. Again, we know we have new listeners and new watchers to Stardom all the time. So basically how, as far as the point system goes, how it goes is if you get a win, it's 2 points. A loss is 0, and either a double count out, or a time limit draw is 1 point. And correct me if I'm wrong, partner. I believe the tournament time limit this year is 15 minutes. Correct?
I believe so. Yes.
Okay, just want to point that out because again, I know there's a lot of people that have just started watching Stardom a few weeks ago, or this is their first 5-star Grand Prix. So that's how it works. Again, if you do get a win, it's 2 points. A draw, whether it's a double count out or a time limit draw, is 1 point, and if you lose, you get 0.0, as they said in Animal House.
It's an interesting one because the tournament time limit seems to fluctuate massively. Obviously, the time limit only applies in the blocks, doesn't apply in the final, where we've seen, I believe, last year was the longest tournament match in history. It's, I believe, 26 minutes between Micah and Saya Kamatani. One last thing I did just want to point out, Matt, and this sort of piggybacks on what I said about the people missing from this tournament. 32 names on this team sheet. Only one has won the tournament prior, and that's Suzu Suzuki. So in terms of star power, not star power necessarily, but in terms of big match experience, we have quite a lot of people who haven't been there. Obviously, we've had finalists. Momo Watanabe was the finalist in 2021, Konami in 2019, Saya Kamatani last year. But a lot of this field haven't tasted 5-star Grand Prix success. And that's going to be really interesting because that's something that Suzu Suzuki has over the rest of her block, certainly, and over the rest of the field as well. And as we get down to Blue Stars B, which is where Suzu Suzuki is going to be, you will actually see that not only is she the only one with a 5-star victory, she's also got a winning record against the vast majority of people in her block. So it's going to be an interesting tournament for Suzu because obviously she is someone coming into this with leadership of a brand new faction, the only winner in the tournament. So there's a little bit of pressure going into it, and someone who I know that Stardom are eager to push. Can she be someone that goes and wins another tournament? I'm intrigued, Matt.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. And I said this about a week or two ago once the complete blocks were announced. This is the opportunity tournament. Again, no Mina, no Micah, no Shuri, no FWC, Hazuki Kagama, no Mayu, no Tam, so on, no Mina, so on and so forth. Obviously, Julie Nutami the last 2 years. This is the opportunity tournament where we can see an Aya, a Sayaka, a Waka, a Hanako. Not necessarily win the tournament, but like get some wins or get some really great matches. I think a Yuna Mizumori, very much like last year, is someone that's going to open a lot of eyes. Bea Priestley, this is going to be the first time for a lot of people to see her live in a Stardom ring because she departed the company back in 2021, so some 4 years ago. So again, to me, this is the opportunity tournament. I'm really looking forward to these 100+ matches that we're going to be watching, noting, and podcasting about, my friend.
Well, let's get into it then. We'll start with Red Stars A, and the block is as follows: Bea Priestley, Waka Tsukiyama, Yuna Mizumori, Hanan, Saya Kamatani, your current World of Stardom champion, Mei Seira, your current high-speed champion, and that might, of course, change on Thursday when she takes on Hanoka for that belt, Lady C, and Azusa Inaba. And we are going to start, all the blocks are hopefully in alphabetical order, he says. We are going to start with a tournament debutante in Azusa Inaba, who hasn't had a singles match against anyone in her block as of yet, but has been very, very impressive on the Stardom cards that she's been on. Had a absolute belter of a match against Tomoka Inaba, where she won the Queen of JTO title. And Matt, I don't think she is someone that will be making it out of the block, but she's certainly someone that is going to have a good showing, I think. And that's going to be the case, as you mentioned. It's the breakout tournament. You mentioned Aya Sakura, you mentioned Sayaka Kurora, and I think you're right with both of those. I wouldn't be surprised if Azusa Inaba is someone that we are talking about at the end of this tournament. And you look at who she's got to start off with. She's got Hanan on the opening night, which straight away you know that's going to be a fantastic match. I'm intrigued with what she's going to do against fellow Hate member Saya Kamatani on the 2nd of August. So, and again, May Sarah, that match there on the 10th of August, that could quite easily lead to a high-speed title match down the line. And we know that we are in desperate need of high-speed challengers in Stardom. But Azusa Inaba is certainly one to keep an eye on, Matt.
Yeah, I'm obviously with the Cinderella tournament, which is different because it's once you lose, you lose. You know, it's basically sudden death. Once you're gone, you're gone. But I think me and you and most of our listeners had Azusa Inaba as kind of the breakout star of the Cinderella tournament. She had a really
Had a
great
great
tournament.
tournament.
And again, 32 people in this tournament. We're going to be looking at an MVP. We're going to be looking at a breakout star. And very well, it could be Azusa Inaba. And not only is she fantastic in the ring, she's got great character work. And you're absolutely right. If you're looking, again, if you're watching this on YouTube, if you're looking at her match listing, you know, she's wrestling Hanan. Hanan is a phenomenal wrestler. And obviously, Hanan's younger sister is Azusa Inaba's tag partner. So that can play some interesting things as well. We did see Rena's return at the Sapporo show from today, doing some dastardly evil heel tactics, Rob Goodwin. But again, I mean, that Hana match is going to be great. I think the B. Priestley match is going to be hard-hitting, right up my alley. I have a feeling when we review said match, we're going to be like, yeah, that was a Matt Turner style match, hard-hitting, right up my alley. The Kamatani match is really interesting because you have fellow Hate member versus fellow Hate member. We've seen throughout the years that faction love goes out the window during the 5-star Grand Prix. So that's going to be great. I think her and Yuna, Yuna Mizumori very much last year, Rob, had something to prove. And even though she didn't make it to the playoffs, she really proved that she can be a big star in Stardom coming up soon. So I think Azusa and Yuna in that match, they're going to have a chip on their shoulder. But the one that I'm penciling the most, other than the Hanan match, is that match with May Sarah. For the reasons you just explained, partner, there is a very good possibility you can make that a high-speed style match. We know that Azusa Inaba is very good at the high-speed style violence, which I am all for. So yeah, I agree. I don't think she's going to, and obviously we're going to get into who we think is going to make it out of the brackets. I don't think she's going to be making out of this brackets. But when we do our review of this entire tournament, which is just about a month away, again, they're very much last year, they're compacting everything, that we may say she's going to be either, 1 or number 2 in our breakout star in this tournament. And considering she's only 17 years old, I have a feeling we're going to be seeing her in this tournament for many years to come. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to see what she's going to do in said tournament, partner.
Moving on then to the returning top Gaijin B. Priestley, former World of Stardom champion B. Priestley. It is worth pointing out, making her first, as you mentioned, her first appearance in Stardom since the 4th of April 2021, and her first 5-star Grand Prix appearance since 2019. She's the dark horse in this tournament. She comes in, she's the only person in this block with a winning record against Saya Kamatani, which is certainly something to take into account. And I think that with someone of the stock of B, who, okay, didn't have the best time in WWE, that aside, she is the previous top champion in Stardom. I think Stardom are going to want to do a lot with B. Priestley, however long this tour is. I do see her getting through this block. I think she is one that will be there or thereabouts in the block. You look at her match calendar, and immediately that match with Saya Kamatani on the last night of block action, 17th of August in Act City, Hamamatsu, that's the one that the eye is drawn to, because as we know, those that have been following the 5-star Grand Prix will always know that those matches on the last night, you look at the brackets, you look at the matches, and that's where your eye is drawn. Who is going to be there or thereabouts on the last night? And B, taking on Saya Kamatani, you know for a fact that that is going to be one to keep an eye on. Her match with Hanan on the 3rd of August in, I believe, Hanan's hometown. I believe that's in Toshigi in Utsunomiya. Her match with May Sarah. I'm really intrigued by a match with Lady C. A match with Lady C, penultimate night of block action, 16th of August in Yokohama Budokan. I think that could be a really, really good match. And again, we've talked about Azusa Inaba as a potential breakout star, and we're going to talk about another one very shortly in Lady C, who I think is going to have a fantastic tournament. But B, who her inclusion in the tournament got a lot of positivity and then some negativity as well, which is absolutely fine. Of course, that's how opinions work. I'm excited to see what B can do because she's gone away. She has got a lot more experience, a lot more exposure, a lot more time to hone her craft. I'm intrigued to see now what she can do in this new Stardom. And as you can see by, those who are watching on YouTube, you look at her match calendar, the only person that she has faced before in her block is Saya Kamatani. She's never faced anyone else in this block. So all of these are unknown quantities, and that's very exciting, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, it's a completely different Stardom from when B left in 2021. Especially look at the two big matchups that I'm look. Obviously, the lady scene. We're going to get a lady scene in a moment once we get there. But it's a way different Saya Kamatani now than it was in early part of 2021. Way different Hanan now than it was in 2021. And again, B was, she was in NXT UK, NXT. She was on SmackDown as Blair Davenport, and she did very well. Again, maybe the writing just wasn't the best for her. So you kind of wonder how you go from literally the top Gaijin, the top tier Gaijin wrestler in the top Joshi promotion. And she crushed it for years over in Stardom. Again, to the newer listeners of the Stardom cast and newer watchers of Stardom, I highly recommend you go through Stardom World and you watch her World of Stardom Championship run. Phenomenal matches. Momo Watanabe, Utami, the match she loses the belt to Mayu, the Kagetsu match that she wins the championship with. Really great run as World of Stardom champion. You always wonder, once you go over to WWE and it's TV wrestling, you kind of have to tone down your style, for lack of a better term. And I understand, because it's different. It's corporate wrestling, and I get that. Like, how would she come back? And I mentioned this in my interview with Jazz. Watch that match he had with Jasmine about a month or so ago at Spark Ignite, Texas, and that is Stardom B. Priestley in that match. And you're like, okay, we're ready to go. I was watching this when she was announced for this tournament. I was watching it live on my phone in my kitchen. I literally fist pumped it because I was like, yes, because I had a feeling she was going to be in this tournament. I mean, this is exactly what B. Priestley needs for her career. I totally agree with you, partner. That match with Kamatani on that final night is going to be true telling. One, to see where these two go, because I agree with you. I think B's going to go through. I think Kamatani 100% has to go through for 1,000 different reasons, which we'll get into in a moment. But if B either gets a draw or a win over Saya Kamatani, on our way to Dream Queendom, possible World of Stardom championship match. And we have noticed over this year in 2025, they have no problem putting the championship match on a live Stardom World show in Korakuen Hall. And Korakuen Hall is a place very near and dear to B. Priestley in her run in Stardom. So I would not be shocked if you see in the fall B. Priestley versus Saya Kamatani for the World of Stardom Championship coming off that final match. But I'm super excited for the B. Priestley to be back in Stardom, in my opinion, where she rightfully belongs. Fingers crossed that this isn't just like how Anna Jay was last year. Anna Jay had a great run in the 5-star Grand Prix, and then we never saw her again. Obviously, she has commitments with AEW, but I would love to see B. Priestley staying in Stardom more often after this tournament, partner.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that you said there. I think her World of Stardom run is certainly very underrated. I think if you actually go back and watch it, aside from the moment she nearly kills Mayu Iwatani with that Frankensteiner from the top rope, I think there are some really good matches in there that, again, you can see her progress and develop in that run. I do think that she gets something out of that Saya Kamatani match. I don't think B. Priestley wins the tournament. Let's just get that out of the way. I think she progresses out of the block. I think that she does get something out of Saya. Whether that is a draw, whether that is a win, I don't know. As we've seen before, they may well throw a Rebel match on the final card. That final, I believe it's the 23rd of August in Ota Ward. They may well say, right, okay, Saya's going to defend it against B. We don't know. We have also got Namba Grand fight and Nagoya Golden fight coming up as well, or at least they were what the pay-per-views were called last year. They may change the names, but we've still got pay-per-views to come into, as you mentioned, before we get to Dream Queendom. So B's the perfect challenger for that. Someone who we know probably isn't going to win the title, but someone that we know is going to have a good match. I mean, Saya Kamatani at this stage could have a good match with herself in the ring, and Dave Meltzer would still only give it 4.5 stars. But again, it doesn't matter who you put in the ring with Saya Kamatani at the moment. She's going to have a fantastic match. So I think that B is the perfect opponent for that. Moving on then, we move on to another person who will be vying for a place in the playoffs, and that is the young lioness, Hanan. After reaching the semifinals last year, having a really quite impressive post-block run of defeating Suzu Suzuki and Syuri as well to make it through to the semi-finals where she would eventually lose to Saya Kamatani. I think she had a blinding tournament last year, and it really did. It capped off a phenomenal year for a winner of the Cinderella tournament, won the Goddesses of Stardom Tag League alongside Sayurida, made it to the final four of the 5-star Grand Prix. It did very much feel like a coming-of-age tournament for Hanan. This year, she'll be looking to go even further. She is someone that has been highlighted by Saya Kamatani herself as someone that could challenge her as the babyface antithesis to her heel persona. So don't be surprised if the two matches that Saya Kamatani drops in this tournament are points to Hanan and points to B. Priestley, because I think those two are solid title matches heading into Dream Queendom. Because again, I am of the opinion that Saya Kamatani holds this belt till at least December. I think Stardom would be mad to have her drop the belt before then. But again, I think Hanan will be a very, very good title defense heading into Dream Queendom. And again, you look at where that is taking place, Korakuen Hall. Because of course it is. Of course it is. Looking at her block catalogue then, ending against Yuna Mizumori on the 17th of August. And Yuna's an interesting one. Had a really good tournament last year, but ended on 0 points. She was going to have a chip on her shoulder heading into this. We know that Hanan has a fierce rivalry with May Sarah. That's going to be really interesting.
I forgot about that. That's right.
It's
oh my goodness.
Always
right.
Fireworks when Hanan and May Sarah get in the ring together. Is there a reason for it? Who knows? Do they know? Who knows? It's always just, Hanan just gets properly aggressive and May Sarah joins that aggression. It's going to be very, very exciting. Don't sleep on her versus Azusa Inaba on that first night as well. I think that's going to be really, really good. But Matt, I imagine you're the same as me. I think Hanan, I don't think she's a shoo-in to get out of the block, but she's certainly got one of the strongest calls to get out of Red Stars A.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I only have one page over here, one thing at a time. But then once I flip it, I'm almost positive I have her getting out of the block. But again, as I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, partner, I have like 5 or 6 people that have a good shot at winning it, and then kind of a outside shot. And Hanan is an outside shot. Obviously, the match everybody's circling towards is Saya Kamatani because they had 2 matches in the tournament last year. One where Hanan won, and then in the on that final night in the semifinals, which obviously Kamatani won. Kamatani's better now than she was a year ago, especially she has a firmer grasp on the new Phoenix Queen character. Hanan is better now than she was last year. So that is definitely a match I'm looking forward to because I don't know how it's going to go, but that's going to be a big one. And again, if she gets a win or a draw, it can be possibly a potential championship match somewhere in the future between Hanan versus Saya Kamatani. So I'm all for that. I can play as I'm looking at the this match listing. I was like, yeah, her May Sarah is going to be great. And again, I completely forgot until you mentioned it, partner, that for some reason when they get in the ring of each other, they're like a bull that sees red. It's like, yeah, we hate each other because I think somebody shoved somebody in a locker and Mariah May was involved or something. I forget, but yeah, I mean that's just going to put more stakes onto it. I mentioned before as when we talked about B. Priestley, I think the B. Priestley versus Hanan match might be the best match in this block for both Hanan and B. Priestley because I think just their styles are going to mesh up really well. But as you mentioned, partner, that match on the final night with Yuna Mizumori, I think is going to be a tell-all match. And if Yuna can get a win, she may be able to parlay that into a Goddess of Stardom tag team title match. Because we've been seeing a lot of, and again, it all depends on what happens in Cork and coming.
I was just going to say, how dare you disregard BMI 2000 like that?
It depends on, and BMI 2000 is fancy new tie-dye shirts, buddy. So
they do. I really like them.
So it's a possibility. There you go, folks. Rob did a lot of work on, if you're watching on YouTube, these slides. Send him a BMI 2000 shirt, tie-dye shirt. But if there is a successful title defense, who does not want to see Wing Gory versus Sakura Demon? That's a great match. You can fill a lot of seats with, but I think that is going to be the sleeper match of this block. Again, Hanan versus Kamatani, yes. B. Priestley versus Kamatani, yes. May Sarah versus Saya, yes. There's going to be a lot of great matches that are going to absolutely be mind-blowing, but I think the one match that we're going to be like, wow, that really over delivered. And again, it's on the final night, Yuna versus Hanan. But I believe, again, I'll be looking at my brackets in a little bit. I'm pretty sure I have Hanan going into the playoffs in this tournament. And I think she would. She really should. She won the Cinderella last year, which Rob predicted right. She made it to the end of the playoffs. As Rob said, she had to defeat Suzu Suzuki and Shuri on the same night. Maybe the two most violent people in all of Stardom. She had to beat both of them on the same night to go into that semifinal match with Kamatani. Her and Saida as Wingori, they won the Goddess tournament. So Hanan's been really crushing it in tournaments over the last year or so. So my guess is that she would qualify for the playoffs. But then again, who knows, good sir? Who knows? It could be Waka rolling her up and completely throwing her off, as we usually do. It could be Waka, rolling her up, and then that's a downward spiral for Hanan. But I know match quality wise, she's going to have a great tournament because there's a lot of great pairing with her in this tournament.
Yeah, she's the one that I am most excited to watch in this tournament, I think, which is a bold statement when you consider, especially Red Stars B, which is absolutely wild. She is someone that I'm very excited to watch. Alongside the next person, and that is a tournament debutant in Lady C, the Human Tower, finally making her 5-star Grand Prix debut. Has been within touching distance before, especially in 2022 when she missed out via qualification. But this year has made the tournament, and I'm very excited to see what she can do. We talked about breakouts with Azusa Rinaba. Lady C is the one for me, because she is older than Aya Sakura. She's older than Sayaka Kurora. She's older than Azusa Rinaba. I want to see Lady C sort of stable in that mid card. I don't want to see her in, the doldrums of being the pin eater of God's Eye. I want to see her, consistently challenging for the Goddesses of Stardom championships, being someone that if she gets a white belt shot, we go, yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah, I can see that. I want to see her on the same level as Stardom currently see a Hanako, for example. I know that, again, Hanako is considerably younger than Lady C, but that's where I see it. I think Lady C has a lot of upside. Whenever she's in the ring, she puts on fantastic matches. Case in point, that Artist of Stardom match, where she, in my opinion, was the MVP of what was another outstanding match. Now, she's up against it because the only person she has got a winning record against in this block is Waka Tsukiyama, who she does have on the final night. And again, I don't think that she is someone that will be looking to get out of this block, similar to Azusa Rinaba. But this will be one where we look and go, bloody hell, her stock has been up significantly. Case in point, opening night, Saya Kamatani. 27th of July, Saya Kamatani. Her match with Mei Seira on the 30th, I think, is going to be really good. Mei Seira, I can't wait to talk about because she was a real surprise in last year's tournament, and I'll explain why in a moment. I think her match with Hanan is going to be great. And again, I mentioned her match with B Priestley when we were talking about B. I think her versus Lady C, you talked about B and Hanan's styles complementing each other. I think B and Lady C could have a really, really good singles match. Again, I've got a feeling that Lady C is going to be there or thereabouts at the wrong end of the block. And I think that it could be a case of her versus Waka on the final night. Could be a case of who is going to pick up their first win of the tournament. But for me, at least, it's more about performances from Lady C. Okay, you've now made it into the tournament. Let's see what you can do. I'm not expecting big victories. I'm not expecting surprise victories over Saya Kamatani, over Hanan, over B, but I am expecting really good performances, good, tenacious, determined performances from the Human Tower.
I'm 100% with you. I just about everything you said, partner. There is nobody out of all these wrestlers, these 32 wrestlers, there's nobody, in my opinion, that has a bigger chip on their shoulder than Lady C. This, for me, is 3 years in the making. You could have made an easy argument that she should have been there in 2022, 2023, and 2024. This is three. She's been waiting for this for 3 years for her to show out, and she's in a block with a lot of wrestlers that are she's going to have a lot of great matches. And again, case in point, she's in the ring night one, and night one always sets the tone. I know there's 16 matches, Night one always sets the tone. She's in the ring with not only your World of Stardom champion, your biggest draw, arguably in the history of the company, and Sai Kamatani, but in my opinion, 7 months into this year, which is crazy to say, 7 months into this year, she is my wrestler of the year. You know, Kamatani is going to go out of her way to make sure Lady C looks like $1 million because Sai Kamatani is that type of heel. So I think that you're going to get off with the bang. And usually your champions always set the tone on your opening night. And I know obviously Tora wasn't in the tournament last year, and then Tam and Kamatani the year before there was an injury, but your red belt and your white belt champions always on night one. They kind of set the tone of where the wrestling quality needs to be because they are the leaders of the company because they're holding the top 2 championships. And I think Kamatani and Lady C on that opening night are going to have an absolute banger. I don't think it's going to go like 14, 15 minutes. I would love it to just because, again, 16 matches. But I think that they're going to really have a great match. You're absolutely right. I don't see her picking up too many wins. I think you're right. That match with her and Waka will be either for whoever gets their first points or the loser will probably finish dead and in the block. But we've seen her and Waka over the years. They have really good chemistry. And now you're putting a little bit more seasoning, a little bit more flavor on that match because it is a final night on the 5-star Grand Prix before the playoffs. But again, all these wrestlers really work towards her strengths. Even like May Sarah, like what if she gets a win on May Sarah and we see a high-speed championship match? Who doesn't want to see that? I think her and Yuna is the one to watch out for. The match I'm probably looking forward to the most, other than Kamatani. Again, partner, you hit it right on the head. Her and B. Priestley. I think that they're going to have a really low-key banger, and I'm really looking forward to see what Lady C gets out of this tournament because we say it all the time when we review the pay-per-views and the Stardom World shows that Lady C's never had a really big pay-per-view match. She never has, and it's arguably that this match coming up on Sunday is the biggest match of her career. Again, she's finally the 5-star Grand Prix opening night. There's going to be a lot of people in the building with Saya Kamatani, the red belt champion. She takes advantage of every second she gets in the ring. And you mentioned that Artist of Stardom championship match. There's 5 other people in the ring. You know, obviously you had Azumi, you had May Sarah, or not May Sarah, you had Azumi, Starlight Kid, and Miyu Amasaki. And every second Lady C took advantage of. And she can take advantage of every second she's going to have in this ring. I'm so excited to see what she does in this tournament from a match quality standpoint, partner.
Moving on to May Sarah, the ultimate shooting star, made a tournament debut last year. And the reason that I said that she was a surprise was that she didn't just rely on her high speed. Now, I've mentioned before that she is the only wrestler on this roster that can keep up with Azumi. And actually, on more than one occasion, has made Azumi look positively pedestrian in her pace. She is rapid. However, especially in that match with Tomoka Inaba, where they were trading Achilles locks and, grueling submissions, we saw a different side to May Sarah. And that different side to May Sarah is one that I really like, one where she isn't just pigeonholed as this fast wrestler that can do really cool stuff really quickly. I really enjoyed that. And she had, of course, that 3-way battle with her, Tomoka Inaba and Azumi last year, where they all traded time limit draws with each other. And I'd like to see May Sarah do something similar this year. Sure, absolutely have some high speed matches, especially in that match with Azusa Inaba, where I think we could see a potential title challenge. However, do something, channel that other side against Saya Kamatani on the 16th of August. Penultimate night of block action. Keep an eye on Saya Kamatani versus May Sarah. That match with Yuna Mizumori, of course, they had a fantastic match for the high-speed title where Yuna Mizumori felt like the hottest thing in Stardom during that match. Can't wait to see that get run back. Her versus Hannon. We've already talked about the aggression there. Her versus B. Priestley. Let's see what B. Priestley can do against someone who you can barely see. I'm intrigued by May Sarah's tournament because she's someone that I don't see getting out of the block, but she will be there or thereabouts. And I think she is a real spoiler in the making because, again, she can beat anyone in this block. And with her high-speed styling, a quick roll-up, the shooting star, and she could quite easily upset a Saya Kamatani, upset a B. Priestley, upset a Hannon. So she's someone to keep an eye on in this tournament. Absolutely improved last year in an absolutely just ridiculous block. You think about Red Stars B last year, Mayu Iwatani, Tomoka Inaba, Azumi, Mei Seira. It was an absolutely ridiculous block. Tam was in that block. Momo Watanabe was in that block. It was crazy. I'm really intrigued to see how Mei Seira both approaches this tournament and also where she ends up in the block.
I think that once this tournament is over, we're going to be looking at Mei Seira. And it's something that me and you have talked about on air and off air before, but I think we're going to be talking about it more. And again, we know there's going to be a lot more eyes on this tournament just because newer eyes, just because of how hot the promotion that Stardom is. And then you have Sari, Bozilla, B. Priestley, coming in and bringing more eyes on the tournament. I think that, and again, something we've talked about both off and on air before, that once this tournament's over, Mei Seira is somebody they're going to be looking to push up to the top of the card. Maybe a white belt shot, maybe a red belt shot, maybe not this year or maybe the beginning of next year, but somebody that's like, okay, when it's ready, she's going to be ready for a shot at the Wonder Belt or the World Belt. And again, she's got Kamitani right towards the end of the tournament. If she defeats Saya Kamitani, which it is a possibility, is that a match that you put on, the Amber Graham fight? Is that a match if they do Stardom X Stardom again, which they didn't do last year, but they usually do, or even on a Korakuen show? That's a match that would be absolutely fantastic. There is a lot of upside for Mei Seira. And everybody knows that over the last year and change, there have been a lot of people that have left Stardom, either with injuries, with the Sherry, Micah, so on and so forth. And a lot of people just leaving to go to other companies and whatnot. And they're looking for people to move up the card to fill in those positions. And I think Mei Seira is the perfect person where it's like, okay, we know she's outgrown the high-speed title. And we know because of the rule sets, and we talked about that before. But I think right after this tournament, that's somebody that like, okay, we know that she can have great matches, money drawing matches, which is about anybody in this company. So I agree, Rob. I don't know if she's going to qualify for the playoffs, but I think going in that final match with Kamitani on the 16th, she's definitely going to be in position where a win or a draw may get her there. But what I'm looking for with Mei Seira is she's somebody that I believe in the fall and the winter of next year, Stardom's going to be looking forward to pushing, because who would not want to see Mei Seira in a big singles main event match? She's phenomenal. And you made mention last year, she just didn't rely on the high-speed style. She had great, hard-hitting submission-style matches with Azumi, with Momo Watanabe, with Tomoka Inaba. And we saw at All-Star Grand Queendom, she can brawl with the best of them. Her and Suzu Suzuki absolutely stole the undercard on the show of the year. So I'm really looking forward to what Mei Seira does in this tournament and then her position in this company afterwards, because I guess for lack of a better term, it is going to be a shooting star potential for Mei Seira.
Wow. Look at that. Look at that. Do you think she beats Saya?
You know what? Because Kamitani has because I think Saya is going to go through. So Saya has on her last two nights, she has Mei Seira, and I'm drawing a blank here, buddy. And then she has
B Priestley.
Yeah, two big matches. So one of those matches, because I can see championship. I think Kamitani wins and bumps her out. And then maybe you build her back up from there. Or they show that she can hang with Kamitani. Again, Kamitani's going to give her a great match because she's Kamitani. At the same time, it's Mei Seira. I don't know. Again, that's something we will talk about when we get to August, that second week of August when we preview. But that's a great question. And Saya Kamitani, again, night one, Lady C, last two nights, B, and Mei Seira. So again, an interesting tournament for one Saya Kamitani.
I'm just trying to think about Saya Kamitani and how many losses she can take, because both of us have her going through. And in fact, actually, let's talk about it now, because Saya Kamitani is the next.
What a segue. What a segue.
The Phoenix Queen herself, the current World of Stardom champion. And I'm just going to say the hottest thing in wrestling, Japanese wrestling, certainly. Saya Kamitani has the ability to win the tournament, obviously is a hot favorite to win the tournament. I don't think she does win the tournament simply because Stardom have never done that. They've never had a red belt champion win the tournament. They've never had a red belt champion make the final before. So that's an interesting little tidbit as well. Can Saya break that? My thing is, how many losses can Saya take and still go through? So last year, pardon me, Hannon, Starlight Kid both made the semifinals by getting 7 points. Now, obviously, we've got 8 people this year, so maybe 4 and 3 is going to be enough. maybe 4-3 is going to be enough to make it through, especially as you've got 3 places to get through to the playoffs. So if Saya Kamatani is able to make it through the block and still lose 3 matches, potentially setting up 3 title matches, we've already sort of highlighted Hannon, we've already highlighted B. Priestley. Could it be May Sarah? May Sarah, of course, has a winning record over Saya Kamatani because she holds the high-speed championship at the moment. Who did she take it off? Saya Kamatani in Sapporo. I think if she's to lose 3 matches or is to drop points in 3 matches, it'll be Hannon, May Sarah, and B. Priestley. I think B. Priestley will beat Saya on the final night. And I think one and or both of Hannon and May Sarah will take points off Saya, but I think Saya will still make it through, Matt.
I think that I see Saya maybe 1 loss, 1 draw. I know for a fact, and we'll get into it, I'm almost positive that I have her as the number 1 seed coming out of this block. She's the hot. And Saya Kamatani was very rare because even when Rossi was booking Stardom, he never had his champions really lose that much, whether in tag matches. Like they never really lost. Kamatani is the exception to the rule because we've seen her lose to Tam as champion or going in for the championship. We've seen her lose to Sayaka Kurora. She lost to Azumi 2 weeks before All-Star Grand Queendom, and she never loses anything because she's a heel and she understands.
She got pinned clean twice, I think, in the build to the Natsupoi match.
That's right. Yeah, well. Yeah. And what happened? They sold it out and had another, to the shock of nobody, had a great match. And it was a possibility. We'll talk about Natsupoi, possible return match. And again, we'll talk about it on the Stardom Cast this week because I'm really intrigued. That match left me more questions than answers in a good way possible. Obviously, Rob, the Han and B. Priestley May Sarah matches, which is her last 3 matches. Again, Brody, I'm going to say it 100 times. I'm going to say that I have the stats over here. But again, I'm going to say it's 100 times during this podcast. Again, if you're watching this on YouTube, kudos to you because I'm literally just looking at her schedule. This is great work, brother, as always.
Thank you.
The match, and we've known this because of all the 5 stars that we've watched and we've dissected. In the middle of the tournament, there's always that one potential upset that throws everything off. You're going to laugh at me, but the one match it's going to be a 5-6 minute match that my heart is going to be in my throat is her and Waka.
I knew you were going to say it. I knew you were going to say it.
No, I'm not going to say it's going to be a 4.5-star match. I'm not going to say, but Kamatani is a genius when it comes to those last-second kickouts because she's struggling. She's selling panic on her face. And Waka has a few roll-ups, especially the Marufuji slide, as I call it, the double chicken wing into the slide. Yeah, and because going to the match, everyone's just like, Waka, it's Waka. We all love her, but we all know Waka's kind of the punching bag of Stardom, but she's so lovable. And Kamatani's Kamatani and a heel, and again, the hottest thing in Japanese wrestling. There's going to be 1 or 2 near falls. You're going to be like, oh damn. And I'm telling you, when we review that match, you're going to be like, Matt, you were right because it's genius. And Kamatani gets anybody over. I think Kamatani is a position since I've started watching Stardom back in 2021. Obviously, I didn't start covering the 5-star until 2022. You look at the champions going in, the red belt champions. You had Otami, you had Shuri, you had Tam, and last year, obviously, Tori didn't participate. But I think this is the best chance for the champion to win the whole thing because of the potential match that may possibly set up. And not only that, everybody loves Saya Kamatani, Rob, not only the fans, and obviously the accountants of Stardom, they love Saya Kamatani because they're making a bunch of money with her, and she's a great wrestler. And even obviously, Rob, we were lucky to have like 4 or 5 interviews over the last month or so, and all these wrestlers that we're interviewing, independent wrestlers that we're interviewing, they love Saya Kamatani, like they're blown away by what Saya Kamatani's doing. So I think this is the best chance for the red belt champion to win the whole tournament. And from a lot of people that I've talked to, their early favorite to win the tournament, most people have Kamatani winning. So it is going to be very interesting. And again, these matches she's going to have are great. Yuna is going to go in with the chip in her shoulder. The Azusa match is going to be really interesting. But you're absolutely right, buddy. That Waka match, like I said, that Waka match is going to have a hearts and throats for seconds in that match. Han and May Sarah B. Priestley. What a murderous row for the red belt champion to go through on those final 3 showings. Again, Saya Kamatani, she's in my opinion the wrestler of the year, and she's going to every one of her matches in this tournament is going to be must see.
I'm always intrigued by what was Oeditai, but hate versus hate matches, and it's like the G1 Climax. How are Bullet Club going to do into Bullet Club matches? And again, we've got one here. We've got it with Azusa Inaba and Saya Kamatani. We've got it in Red Stars B with Rina and Natsuko Tora. I'm intrigued how that match is going to go. And again, you mentioned that there's always that one in the middle that's a little bit sticky, and it could be Waka Tsukiyama for Saya Kamatani. There's always that one person who just goes off like an absolute greyhound at the start of the tournament. And if you look at, no disrespect, if you look at Saya Kamatani's running, it would not surprise me if she goes into that Hanan match at Korakuen Hall and hasn't dropped a point and is top of the block and is miles away from everyone else. It would not surprise me at all. And then obviously comes those three hard matches, Hanan, Mesea, and B. Priestley. Either way, I do have Saya Kamatani going through. And once we get to the end of Red Stars A, we'll talk about who we've got going out of the block. But I think that certainly a loss to B on the final night. And I think dropped points maybe against both Hanan and Mesea. And maybe we'll see 2 draws, 4-1 and 2. Again, still gives her 10 points, and I think that's more than enough to get through.
I disagree. I think we have 7 draws because Saya Kamatani is be drawing money with everybody in this tournament. Boom! I told you I was well rested. We got baking competitions going on.
It's because your house smells of cinnamon. That's what it is.
Not only that, I know a side topic. Amber is entering more than one contest. Like there's like a cookie contest, and she wanted to do cinnamon buns with bacon wrapped in them. And I'm like, oh my God. But they said because it's hot out and it's going to be sitting out, it will spoil. So they told her last minute she has to do something else. Anyway,
let's talk about the Moonlight Fantasy then. Waka Tsukiyama. We've sort of touched on, and Matt's got her beating Saya Kamatani for some strange reason in his bracket. Yeah, Waka has got an uphill battle. It's nice to see her in the tournament. It's nice to see her making her debut in the tournament. However, you've just got to look at her record against some of these people. Aside from those that she hasn't wrestled before, B. Priestley, Saya Kamatani, and Azusa Inaba, she doesn't have a winning record against anyone, and actually only has a 1-1 record against Yuna Mizumori, and that's it. So Waka has an uphill struggle. Someone has got to finish last. And as my dad always said, it takes the strongest person to finish last because they've got to hold everybody else up. So I do. Exactly. Maybe it's because his son kept finishing last. I don't know. He had to come up with something to make me feel better. I do have Waka finishing last in the block. It's a shame, but again, you can't push everyone. And I think Waka is someone who will have some good matches. She might even be some of the comic relief. We've seen it in tournaments where, because there is so much wrestling, sometimes you need that comic relief. Last year, we saw it with Saki Kashima, and the G1s gone by, it was always Toru Yano, who people were like, oh, well, why is he in the tournament? And it's like, because he breaks things up. He allows people to have a breather and things like that. And I think Waka Tsukiyama could certainly be that in the Red Stars A block. I think she'll have a good match with Yuna Mizumori. I think that's a match to certainly check out. And I think the match with Lady C on the final night that we've already mentioned as to which could potentially be a who is going to finish bottom of the block match, that could be a closet banger as well. But ultimately, I think it could be quite a hard month for the Moonlight Fantasy.
Yeah, she's gonna be the palate cleanser. Obviously you're gonna have your hard hitting matches in this block with B and Yuna and Kamatani, but literally you took the words right out of my mouth, buddy. I think Waka and Yuna, because I think by the time we get to that match, we know that Yuna and Waka are probably gonna be mathematically eliminated. So the two of them are gonna be have a 5 to 7 minute match, and then just go out there and hit a home run. And I think they're gonna have a really good, entertaining match on the 10th. But you're right. She's going to be the palate cleanser. Again, very much like a Lady C. Obviously, Momo Koga was in there in 2022 as a last-minute replacement for Tekla, because Tekla got injured. So, but very much like a Lady C. Waka, you can make an argument that she could have been a qualifier the last 2 or 3 years, and she's going to go into it with a chip on her shoulder. Again, she's fantastic. It really seems like ever since All-Star Grand Queendom that she's been wrestling at another level, and I think this is the perfect time for her because she's having great matches in those 6-person tag matches with Hanako and Rion as the only 3 members of EXV. But I think she's hitting a really good stride now. She's a new blood tag champion, something well earned. I think she's going to have a really fun tournament, but I totally agree. I think she's going to be the palate cleanser of this tournament. And I agree. I think she's going to finish dead last in this block. But going by what your dad said, Rob, that means she's the strongest person in this whole entire tournament. So take that.
Absolutely. It's because we're Newcastle United fans and we were used to finishing last. Moving on to the final person of the block. And Matt, you've mentioned a couple of times people having chips on their shoulder. I would argue that there is nobody in this block with a bigger chip on their shoulder than the Tropical Yoho, Yuna Mizumori. And again, that is because she was put into a very difficult block. If you remember Red Stars A last year, Maika, Natsupoi, Hazuki. It wasn't an easy block for Yuna Mizumori, and even though she put on fantastic performances, ended up finishing dead last, losing every single match. And that is not a record you want. And there's only one other person, I believe, in this tournament who has had that record before, and that's Ruaka. Yuna will want to rectify that. She knows that performances are one thing, but results need to come. And she will certainly be eyeing up matches here against the likes of Waka Tsukiyama on the 10th of August, against Lady C, who she has a winning record against on the 2nd of August. I think that her versus Saya Kamatani will be an interesting match. I think it'll be a good match as well because of the power of Yuna Mizumori against the selling of Saya Kamatani. I think obviously Saya will win, but again, it's another good performance from Yuna. Azusa Inaba is an interesting one as well for her. But again, that final night, her versus Hanan, that's a match I'm really legitimately excited for. Not enough people talk about Yuna Mizumori. She is one of the most improved wrestlers on this entire roster. When you look at when she first debuted, she was a member of the Neo Stardom Army. Remember that? I think in terms of improvement, development, and someone that I am actively excited about watching in a singles match, Yuna Mizumori is right at the top of that list. Do I think she progresses from the block? No, absolutely not. However, I do think she wins matches this year. I think she ends up with a better record this year. And again, she's someone that you can rely on to put good matches on with.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at her calendar, and to me, probably the 2 most important matches for her, obviously, Kamatani, because she's red belt champion, but number 1, Bea Priestley. Because again, it's Bea's first match in Japan in over 4 years, and Yuna is tasked. Go out there again. It's opening night. There's going to be a lot of people in the building. It's opening night. Night 1 of the 5-star Grand Prix has consistently been one of the best nights of overall wrestling in all of wrestling. And she's tasked with Bea Priestley, former red belt champion, coming back to Japan, coming back to Stardom, and her first match is against Yuna. So that is going to be one that everybody's going to be looking forward to. And you mentioned a partner, that match with Hana. And again, if Wingori do retain against BMI 2000 on Thursday, that could set up a potential tag team title match with Wingori versus Sakura Demon. Or even if they lose, even if BMI 2000 are successful and Tora and Ruaka walk out of the Goddess of Stardom champions, that could be a potential number 1 contenders match. Basically, Rob, I'm trying to fantasy book after the tournament a Wingori versus Sakura Demon match. That's a match I think everybody wants to see. I totally agree. 2, 3, maybe 4 points max Yuna, but it's not going to be about that. It's going to be about the performance. And you're right. Not only is she the most improved wrestler in this roster, but one of the most improved wrestlers in all of wrestling. Whether it's you're talking Marigold, WWE, AEW, there's not too many wrestlers that have improved as much as Yuna has in the last 2 years. And again, this is a great opportunity for her to keep climbing up that ladder in Stardom.
Something that you've just made me think really with that first match, Bea Priestley, 27th of July. Bea Priestley's only wrestled 2 matches since her tenure with WWE. So her final match in WWE was the 22nd of November. Now, again, I can't remember when she was released or when the 90 days were up. I would have to look at that. But since that, she's only wrestled a 4-minute match against Viva Van on the New Japan Resurgence show and the match with Jasmine Allure at Spark Joshi. So Bea Priestley may be coming into this with a little bit of ring rust. as well. So she, we've both highlighted her as someone who is going to be coming out of this block, someone who could potentially defeat Saya Kamatani. But she is coming into this with 2 matches under her belt since November. So do you think that is something we're going to see, especially in this first match with Yuna?
Again, you make a great point, partner. It's something I didn't think about. This is a great match to really, really hone in on and zone in on, because how much ring rush is she going to have? Yeah, you do have a really good point. And again, she looked great in that match with Jasmine or Laura at Spark Joshi. So
Certainly.
if we get that beat, and then you have to think, I don't know when she's flying in. Hopefully it's not the Anna Jay thing where she lands and 4 hours later she has
4 in the morning.
Yeah, hopefully she's there a day or two before, maybe goes to the dojo, stretches a little bit. Again, she hasn't been over to Japan in over 4 years. So hopefully she gets there at least a day or two before. But you're right, this is a whole nother reason why to really zone in on this match coming up on Sunday, my man. So as always, buddy, great job thinking outside the box.
So let's just go back to Red Stars A as a whole. We might as well go through, when we finish the block, who we've got coming out of the block and their seeds. So there is a reason for this, so bear with me. The way that I have got Red Stars A panning out, and I know that I'm going to get a lot of hate in the comments, no pun intended, but I don't have Saya Kamatani winning the block. I have B. Priestley winning the block. I've got Saya Kamatani as the 2nd seed, and I have got Hanan as the 3rd seed. Now, there is a reason that I have got Saya Kamatani as the 2nd seed, and that will play into something that I'm going to talk about a little bit later. But yes, B, Saya Kamatani, and Hanan making it out of Red Stars A, Matt Turner.
So those are really good. I have my picks, obviously, my wife's picks, and Andy Hedder's picks. So I guess this is the time to do 1, 2, and 3 for Red Stars A. So, Rob Goodwin, since obviously you put a lot of time in this, I will give you the pick. Do you want me to go first? Do you want me to read? How do you want to see? Do you want me, Andy, Amber? You tell me which ones you want to hear in what order.
Let's do Amber, Andy, and then finish with yours.
Okay, so we will go to Amber. Amber has Saya Kamatani as the number 1 seed.
Mm-hmm.
She has May Sarah as number 2 and Beasley as number 3.
Wow, so doesn't have Hanan going through at all. Interesting. Okay.
Does not. My wife's picks was really weird. I kind of gave a double take, and we'll get into it. Andy Hedder has Kamatani as number 1, B. Priestley as number 2, and Hanan as number 3. And I have the same. Kamatani number 1. So all of us have Kamatani number 1, B. Priestley number 2, and Hanan as number 3. So pretty much all of us, with the exception of Amber, she really thought out of left field, buddy, which goes to tell you that we might be smoked. The ones that follow Stardom, we might be smoked.
I do think Mazera is the one to keep an eye on. I think she will be the 4th out of that block. I think she'll be there or thereabouts. Similarly to Azusa Inaba. But again, I can't see past those 3. And again, there is a reason I've got Saya Kamatani making her way into the playoffs as opposed to anything else. So with that being said, we move on to Red Stars B. And that block in full is going to be Rina, Rian, Sayaka Kurora, Azumi, Starlight Kid, Natsupoi, Tomoka Inaba, and Natsuko Tora. So another great block again, and immediately eyes are drawn to those 4: Azumi, Starlight Kid, Natsupoi, and Tomoka Inaba. But do not sleep on Rina, because again, she is going to be one to keep an eye on. Another breakout year, someone who is going to have a breakout tournament. But before we get into any of that, we are going to start off with Azumi, the high-speed bomb girl, her 6th tournament this year for the young 20-year-old, the former high-speed champion, the current, or at least at the time of recording, New Japan Strong Women's Championship. I'm sure Bozilla will have a lot to say about that. But Matt, Azumi, again, someone who came joint 2nd last year in the block and ended up getting through to the quarterfinals. Through that weird 3-way gauntlet thing between her, Maysara, and Tomoka Inaba, which I really quite liked. But ultimately fell to did she fall to Mayu? She did, didn't she? She fell to Mayu.
Micah.
That's right. Yes, because it was Mayu and Natsupoi.
She had to wrestle 4 times on that quarterfinal show.
Yes, she did.
God bless
Woman
her.
was exhausted. Azumi's a really interesting one because, again, she is someone who is going to be there or thereabouts. Again, you look at Starlight Kid. Starlight Kid on the 2nd of August is the match that everyone is going to be looking forward to. I'm really looking forward to the Natsupoi match. I actually thought they'd faced each other considerably more than the once that they've actually faced. Natsupoi getting the win at All-Star Dream Cinderella at Budokan on the pre-show. But that's in Toshigi. That's going to be a really, really good match. Don't sleep on Rina. And I'm going to keep saying that because Rina is going to have a breakout tournament. Azumi, Matt, is going to be there or thereabouts. I think everyone thinks that. Starlight Kid is the one with a target on her back, being the Wonder of Stardom champion. First question, does Azumi defeat Starlight Kid, giving herself another white belt shot? Obviously, we saw that at the Yokohama Arena in a great match. Do we revisit that? And secondly, who do you think upsets the High Speed Bomb Girl this year? Because I have my own theories, and I think Rina will be one of them.
Something clicked in my head. I just want to say something real quick. Azumi and Natsupoi was on the pre-show 4 years ago. That show would sell out just about any building in Japan. Pre-show. Yeah. Azumi is a very interesting one, and one that's going to have another great tournament. Again, not only is she phenomenal, and I always say with the exception of Will Ospreay, the most talented wrestler in all of wrestling, but very much like last year on a murderous row of blocks. All these blocks look really good, but Red Stars B for 99% of the people that I've talked to. This is the block. Because there's so many people that really that can possibly go through, and not a lot of people are even highlighting the champion last year, Natsuko Tora. Most people I talk to have either not but maybe possibly Rina, Starlight Kid. To answer your question with Starlight Kid, that match has TLD written all over it, maybe until the playoffs, Rob. Again, we will get into it, maybe until the playoffs. And it's crazy for how many matches Starlight Kid and Azumi have had. I don't think they've ever faced each other in the 5-star Grand Prix, or not in the last 3 or 4 years since like Azumi and Starlight Kid have really come into their own. I mean, her tournament, the fact they're starting out with Tora on night 1, that can be your first somewhat upset, because I think more people have Azumi going through than they do have Tora going through. But you always have somebody that drops, somebody that makes it really far, or maybe wins the whole thing, that always drops a match or two, like you with Julie in 2022, where she dropped her first 2 right out the get-go. But again, she's going to have great matches, first of all, with everybody, because she's Azumi, but Toka Inaba, Starlight Kid, Natsupoi, Rina, even Rian. Again, very much like we talked about Waka and Saya Kamatani, there's always that match in the middle of the tournament. We may have 1 or 2 really quick falls that may upset. You may be thinking, oh my goodness, they're going to have an upset to really disrupt their block. And I think Rihanna's going to have a few near falls onto Azumi in that match, that your heart's going to kind of be in your throat for all the Azumi fans. We know there's a lot out there. Her and Sayaka Kurora on that final night before going into the playoffs, I think is going to be a low-key absolute banger. Sayaka Kurora keeps getting better and better and better. And Rob, she's going into this tournament with a lot of momentum because she did win the other tournament this year, the Cinderella tournament. So putting her and Azumi on the final night, I think that's genius booking. I do have Azumi going into the playoffs, and I will say this now because she only gave me her overall winner. Karen Peterson, friend of the show, has Azumi winning the whole entire thing, Rob Goodwin.
Wow.
Winning the whole entire thing, and I would not say no to that, because who again, we do expect Saya Kamatani to be champion at the end of the year. Azumi to defeat Saya Kamatani back in April, clean in the middle of the ring. Azumi and Saya Kamatani, they have that Queen's Quest history, Rob. So it's right there in front of you. That is a possibility that could happen. And again, Azumi, it has worldwide recognition. Not only is she a phenomenal wrestler in Japan, we have seen her wrestle and steal the show and pop a rating on AEW TV. Boy, it would pop her a huge, huge number in Sumo Hall at Ryugoka Kakakigan, Rob Goodwin, and a pay-per-view number, especially we know more than likely that show will have English commentary. So don't count Azumi out to winning this whole thing. I don't think anybody would say no to that for the high-speed bomb girl.
I mean, who are we to argue with the queen of Joshi coverage and Karen Peterson? It's an interesting one, certainly. I, as many people will know, I've gone with my heart with Azumi before and said she's winning the Cinderella tournament, and has never, ever, ever come good. I I actually do have Azumi getting through.
Ooh.
I know. I've thought about it, and it was between her and Natsupoi. And after the stuff from today, which we'll talk about when we get to Natsupoi, I think that Natsupoi has to go through. I just think she has to go through. And I have a rather dark horse going through later on as well. So
I do have, again, Saturday, me and my wife did our brackets. There was one part where I was caught up on when we got to the playoffs. Obviously, you probably figured it out because we just talked about it. And then literally we got done. I said, no, I'm done. I sat there and we're watching TV. And my wife said, there's something wrong. You look very puzzled. You don't very much look like your happy-go-lucky self. And I kept putting my tablet, looking back at it. And she's just like, are you having second thoughts? I said, there's one match that's tripping me up. You probably figured it out, but we'll get to it when we get to our playoff portion in about 3 hours, buddy.
Yes, I'm intrigued. I really am. Azumi's an interesting one, like I say, because she could win the block. She could also not go through. Again, it depends where they want to go with her. It also depends whether she keeps the New Japan Strong Women's title against Bozilla, which I do think she will. Just a couple of matches to keep an eye on. Tomoka Rinaba, obviously, on the 30th of July. Starlight Kid's the big one that I mentioned on the 2nd of August, but also Natsupoi, the 3rd of August, Rina on the 6th of August in Korakuen Hall. And again, Matt, I don't think Sayaka Kurora beats Azumi by any stretch of the imagination on the 17th, but that is certainly a match to keep an eye on as well.
Rob, real quick, something I just want to point out because you just triggered something in my mind. If Azumi does retain against Bozilla and she wins this tournament, she'll be defending the New Japan Strong Championship more than likely on shows in the United States. And it's a free commercial saying Azumi, is wrestling, let's just say B. Priestley on this New Japan Strong show. She's also the #1 contender, will be challenging for the red belt at the big show at the end of the year in Sumo Hall. And you can literally plug that while she's in the ring. So it's an easy plug, easy commercial, and a way to sell tickets and get more eyes, more American eyes on the Stardom product. So think about that too, my friends, as if it's not tricky enough to figure out this tournament.
I do think we get Azumi and Sayaka Amatani at some point.
I hope.
I don't know. Well, yeah, absolutely. Why wouldn't you? I just don't think it'll be exactly. I just don't think it'll be at Dream Queendom this year. We'll have to wait and see. Matt, you've spoken a lot about chips on the shoulder. In terms of Red Stars B, Natsuko has got to have the biggest one. Decided that she wasn't going to take part in last year's tournament. I am the red belt champion. I've opted not to take part in the tournament. I'm going to give my place to Ruaka, and I am just going to stand and lord it over everyone, and then lost the belt in just over a month. In her first defense, after challenging Tam, who had lost every single match in the 5-star Grand Prix and had a knee injury. In terms of poor planning and poor judgment, I would argue that Natsuko Tora had the worst month of her entire wrestling career during that point. But she has the chance to turn that around here. And Matt, you mentioned dark horses and things. Natsuko Tora is absolutely the dark horse of this block. She went off like a steam train in 2023, if you remember, won 6 in a row. And then it was only losses to Hazuki and I think Natsupoi.
I know she beat Mayu. She beat Mayu. She beat Shuri. I think she beat Tam because I remember she beat like 2 of the champions because Tam was the champion in 2023. And I remember she had like 3 wins in like 8 days against main event wrestlers. I know she lost to Hazuki on that final night. Hazuki was the big spoiler. But yeah, you're right. But she had a phenomenal tournament, not only wrestling wise, because those matches were great because Tora's fantastic and she knows her role as a heel, but points well as well. She was going into that last final 2 or 3 shows as like the front runner, not only in Red Stars, but Blue Stars. But I think you're right. I think it was Natsupoi, but I know for a fact it was Hazuki with a Hazuki straw that blocked her from going to the finals in 2023. And then Tam Nakano broke her heart and your heart, Rob, because you still complain about it. But when she won the World of Stardom Championship.
Certainly not complaining about it. I'm just complaining as to how we got there. I've lost 6 matches in a row. Give me a red belt shot. Anyway, that being said, I think Natsuko Tora has proved that she is more than a spoiler. And I did it earlier. You go over Red Stars B, and Natsuko Tora is someone that you don't necessarily think about in the wake of Natsupoi, Starlight Kid, Azumi, even Rina. You sort of forget Natsuko Tora, and I think that could be where she's quite dangerous in this tournament. That match with Azumi on the 27th, again, Matt, I completely agree with you. Have you marked that as a potential spoiler? Again, Tora, former red belt champion, and we're classing that as a spoiler. But I think that could be, it wouldn't surprise me actually if she beats both her and Natsupoi in those first two matches that she's got, because again, Azumi on the 27th, Natsupoi on the 30th, and then she's got a match against Rina, which I'm really intrigued to see how they do the hate versus hate matches. Starlight Kid on the 10th of August. Again, we've seen Starlight Kid have white belt matches with people considerably bigger than her in Hanako. Could we see Tora get the win over Starlight Kid and set up a white belt match? I think that would certainly be a very good defense for Starlight Kid. It would give or lend Natsuko Tora a lot of credibility as the leader of hate. People often forget that she's the leader of hate, with the likes of Saya Kamatani, Momo Watanabe in that group as well. So giving her a title match at a decent level, I think would be really, really beneficial to her. That match with Tomoka Inaba as well on the penultimate night of block action, 16th of August at the Yokohama Budokan. Natsuko Tora versus Tomoka Inaba. Really, really intrigued by that. And then, of course, there's the history. Cosmic Angels versus Hate, Sayaka Kurora on the 6th of August, yes, at Korakuen Hall. Some really intriguing matchups for the Intelligent Monster, Matt.
One of the really great things I love about Teru Okada's booking, and we've seen that in these tournaments, he likes to build up the heels to know to feed them to the proper babyface to get them over it. And you look at what he did in the Cinderella tournament last year. Ruwaka beat Kagama and Hazuki, and we're all like, what is going on? And she kept cheating to win, only to feed her to Hanan, and then Hanan wins the tournament. It was genius booking. The way you're looking at this is look at all these great wrestlers that she's wrestling. Azumi, possible win. Natsupoi, possible win. Rina, obviously her stablemate, possible win, or maybe double disqualification with all the shenanigans. But you look at underneath baby faces that you know that are going to be pushed, especially after this tournament, and Rihanna and Sayaka Kurora. What if Tora's undefeated going into those matches, especially with Sayaka Kurora? Because Sayaka Kurora is a great babyface at taking a butt kicking and then knowing when to do her comeback. What if she's undefeated going into that match with Sayaka Kurora, and you have Tora built up? Again, former red belt champion. She almost won this tournament back in 2023, the last time she participated, and she's beating the dog out of Sayaka Kurora, only for Sayaka Kurora to come back and get the win, and then she loses to Starlight Kid and Tomoka Inaba. And we could say, wow, she was the only undefeated person maybe in that tournament going into that final week, and with Sayaka Kurora the one that kind of derailed her. That's a really great story that you can tell. And then you can do some sort of feud with Sayaka and Tora coming after the 5-star. There's a lot of great things you can do with Tora in this tournament and then going out of. The main match that I'm looking forward to, just because styles make fights, is that hard-hitting match coming up, as you said, partner, on the penultimate show against the Tomoka Inaba on the 10th. That's going to be hard-hitting, right up my alley. I think Tora is going to be a spoiler in this. Do I think she goes through? No, because it's going to be tricky, because we got 4 people. That's a possibility with Azumi, Natsupoi. Maybe even like, I don't think about this. There's a possibility that you can throw Rina in there. Obviously, Starlight Kid, Tomoka Inaba, and maybe you do put Tora in there because you do need a heel. You do need 1 or 2 heels in these playoffs. There's a possibility that Tora does come out. This is the most interesting block, again, because you have great wrestlers throughout, but especially with Natsupoi, Tomoka, Starlight Kid, and Azumi. But don't be shocked at it if she is the big spoiler coming out of this block. I think that her booking in this is going to be really, really interesting, and her matchups look really good throughout the entire Red Stars B run.
I don't think I'm out of line here by saying that the only person I think has no chance of going through this block is Rian. I think you could arguably make a case for every other person in this block, especially with three places to go for. I think if there was still only 2 places to go for, you could discount Sayaka Kurora. I would argue you could probably discount Tomoka Inaba. You could probably maybe discount Rina as well. With 3 places up for grabs, I think, again, with the exception of Rian, every single person in this block is able to get out of it. You can make the case for it. And I think you're absolutely right. I think Sayaka Kurora does beat Nats Katora.
Rob, good point, because Sayaka did win the Cinderella tournament. And again,
Exactly.
we know there
has
we
had a
know,
red belt match this year.
that as well. And again, we're getting more English commentary for these bigger shows, and you can build up Sayaka Kurora. She has if she's in contention on that final week, you can make mention. Only one other wrestler has won the 5-star Grand Prix in the Cinderella in the same year, and that's Toni Storm, who's a massive, massive star for AEW. AEW has a working relationship with Stardom. So you can draw those two parallels. Not only that, again, maybe I'm fantasy booking a promo. How awesome would it be to see Toni Storm in the timeless character giving advice to Sayaka Kurora going into this tournament or halfway through our video package, like sending her luck? Like, how great would that be? Like, why don't they pull the trigger on that? Literally, Toni Storm is probably at TV 7-8 hours a week. Have her do like a 1-minute promo, send it over on like the first opening day or the second day of the 5-star, and just like, darling, I want, you can join me. There's so much they can do there. But you're absolutely right. The fact that she has won the Cinderella tournament and had a great red belt match. And if you remember, there was a couple seconds that people that they were changing the belt, because that's how good Sayaka Kurora is at making people believe. But yeah, you're right. Anybody can go through this block. So I'm interested to see who you have, Andy has, and who Amber has going through to the playoffs.
Something else as well. I don't know if you noticed this. Did you see what came up at the start of Sayaka Kurora's video package today? The fact that she's calling herself the Stardom Dream.
No, but I noticed there was a lot of Tam on video walls today. I noticed
a lot of Tam. I noticed that.
Yes.
The Natsupoi thing was almost solely about Tam.
Boom! It's like, wait a minute, I thought Natsupoi was in this match.
Yeah, exactly. She didn't appear in the video package until about 3/4 of the way through. Poor boy. Moving on then, and speaking of Natsupoi, again, great transition. Had this primer taken place yesterday before the Sapporo Rendezvous show, I'd have said that Natsupoi was probably the one to miss out, would probably finish 4th in the block. However, having seen the story that has developed between her and Saya Kamatani, away from the fact that obviously Natsupoi, Tam's best friend, tag team partner, stablemate, fighting for Tam's honor almost after Saya retired her, they have something interesting together as well. So do they run this match back? Both of us said that Saya Kamatani versus Natsupoi match today was very, very good. Really good. But we both also said they have a better match in them, which is terrifying, really, when you consider the ceiling that these two women have. So, do you run that back at Dream Queen? Because they absolutely are running it back. Absolutely 100% running it back. Natsupoi even said, you better hold on to that belt because I'm the one that's going to dethrone you. And we know that Stardom don't tend to say stuff without following through on it. They don't say stuff for no reason. Ordinarily, again, there's always going to be outliers. The way today was built and the way today that Natsupoi was roughly shoved out of the ring and then beaten down again by Hayes after the match makes me think that Natsupoi is going to get another shot at Saya Kamatani. Now, is she going to do this by winning the tournament? I don't know. However, I feel like today has strengthened her case significantly. You look at her tournament, opens against Sayaka Kurora on the 27th of July. Natsuko Tora could be that first speed bump. I think Tora will beat her. I think Tomoka Inaba beats her as well. And then I think you will start to see the rebuilding of Natsupoi as she goes through this block. And I think it will culminate with a victory over Starlight Kid on that final night. And that could potentially be another match that we run back. Because again, it was fantastic at last year's Dream Queendom. Why wouldn't we want to see that again? Plus, again, Natsupoi needs that boost before going on against Saya Kamatani again. So what better way than getting a win over the white belt champion? I do have Natsupoi going through, and I didn't yesterday, Matt.
I mean, you again, partner, for the probably 10th time, I'm going to point out your graphic here. Natsupoi has 43 5-star Grand Prix matches. Like, that's crazy. Like, and I think me and you both had her as the MVP in the 2023 tournament, which we didn't
She
realize
was
going into that
brilliant. Yeah.
final. She was injured in that match with Tam, and nobody, and she still put on a great match and then had to take time off. You need to start building up Natsupoi. Again, Oda Ward, the Sorry show, they sold out Oda Ward over, I think like 2,800 tickets. And then she loses 2 championship matches, great matches, obviously with Wingori, Sorry versus Wingori. And then as we're recording earlier today, but again, what happened in today's show, you win by losing. And again, we'll talk about it more in depth in the Stardom cast this week. The fact that I knew when that match was announced, I'm like, it's gonna be a 5-star match. Like, it's gonna be a 5-star match because they've had great matches before and they're both better now. I was going into that it was gonna be a 5-star match. And partner, you just said it was a great match, but there's a better match in them. And I'll tell you right now, I gave it 4 3/4. And I actually kind of had like a lump in my chest. I'm like, that wasn't a 5-star match. I thought it was. They left stuff on the table. And now we know the reason why, because of what happened, the post-thing beatdown, the fact that we're keep bringing Tam into this thing. Saya Kamatani's been saying, I fight harder for Tam than you do to Natsupoi. She invited Natsupoi to join Hate, and Natsupoi's like, absolutely not. You keep growing those wings, but I'm going to clip them. A really great post-match promo. What that match did is Natsupoi lost, but she won. Because again, as I was thinking about this tournament in my head yesterday, I'm like, Natsupoi has an outside chance of winning the tournament. Now I think she's one of the favorites because you can run that back because they have a better match in them. Not only that, but they have a match in them that can draw a lot of tickets. They sold out the building today, and I think you can only fit like 1,100 people in that building. Well, we know Saya Kamatani can draw anywhere between 4,000 to 7,000 tickets with the proper buildup, and Natsupoi can do well over 2,000. So why not run that back? And again, Stardom has proved. You may say, well, Matt, they just ran that. Why would you do it in Sumo Hall? You just had that match in the summer. Stardom understands the return match. We saw it 3 times in 5 months with Tam and Saya Kamatani, and they all drew. They all sold, they all sold really well. Why not do that with Saya Kamatani and Natsupoi? I agree. They have a better match. They definitely have a 5-star match in them. It was a great match. And again, we'll get into it in the Stardom cast. But with her losing, the way that she lost, the post-match promo, there's a really good shot Natsupoi wins this whole entire thing. And again, I don't think anybody would say no to that. She's a massive star, especially coming off that Oda Ward City show. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes. I think Sakura, wins. I think she loses to Natsukatora. And then I really don't see her losing any other match. I think that Starlight Kid match may go to the old TLD, maybe the Izumi one as well. But I'm not looking at my bracket now because we'll get into that when we finish the Red Stars B. But I definitely have her going through because, again, I'm really tripped up on something that may or may not happen in the playoffs. But the seeds that Stardom planted today, especially Kamatani with that promo, Natsupoi on the return promo, starting to plant a lot, as if we weren't confused enough who's going to win this tournament. And you're just like, maybe it is Natsupoi because of the reasons that we just said. They love the return match. It's right there. Maybe Natsupoi does win this tournament again. Nobody will complain because who doesn't love the Murder Pixie? Who doesn't? What a great showing that would be after everything Natsupoi has been through this year. The ups and downs and Tam leaving and then her and Soriano getting a title shot and almost winning, them losing the artist belts earlier this year, them selling out Oda Ward on their self-production show, her losing 2 championship matches almost back to back. What a great up this would be for her at the end of the summer to be wearing the crown and all the confetti coming down. What a great emotional scene that would be, Rob Goodwin. Tell you one thing, if that does happen, that would say a lot of magazines on the cover of Weekly Pro Wrestling magazine. So, yeah, they did a great job having Natsupoi lose, but really winning because she could win this tournament based on that. So that's just really great booking and great execution, not only from Stardom, but Natsupoi and Saya Kamatani, buddy.
The big thing that you got to mention as well is the fact that Stardom are currently without big baby faces, like big star baby faces, because Micah's out injured and she is arguably your biggest baby face. Suri is out for the foreseeable. She goes in for surgery on the 24th on her elbow. Mayu's gone to Marigold. Mina has gone to AEW. Tam's retired. You are very short on baby faces.
Hazuki's beating up everybody in every promotion.
Hazuki's legit trying to kill Dash Chisako in Korakuen. Jesus Christ, we need to talk about that match on the Stardom cast. Some of those bumps were so unnecessary. But yeah, Natsupoi fits that mold and has proved that she can be elevated to that role and stay there her and Soriano are ready made to stay in that position, to be the fight to Saya Kamatani and hate. You know, Starlight Kid is there as well. But I think a big victory for Natsupoi cements her as that number one baby. Because at the moment, Matt, who is the number one babyface in Stardom? Probably Saya Kamatani, ironically.
Or yeah, you know, you're not. I know you're joking, but the other one, Starlight Kid, and they're already your champions. You know,
Exactly.
everybody loves Starlight Kid, but Natsupoi Izumi is probably, as far as your non-champions go. Again, they're 1 and 2, and rightfully so. But other than that, I mean, Izumi, Natsupoi, Fuki and Death. But you know, I mean,
absolutely. I mean, who wouldn't want Fuki and Death to unseat Saya Kamatani? The thing is, with Saya drawing the houses that she's drawing, I mean, I've said today that Stardom have drawn the biggest non-Japan number in Sapporo post-pandemic.
Wow.
And that was only because that was all I went to, because it took me ages. So I would argue that it's probably, I can't remember a time that a company has drawn over 1,000 people that isn't New Japan to Sapporo. It's a notoriously difficult market. Saya Kamatani is drawing huge numbers. You don't have her drop the belt until you are absolutely positive it is the right person. You are absolutely positive that it is the right babyface. And at the moment, I would argue that there is not a babyface on Saya Kamatani's level to have her drop the belt to. Can Natsupoi be that person? Absolutely. Absolutely. And she has proved to this year that she can be that person. People love her. They absolutely adore her. And I think that is something you need, you know, especially with Micah being absent. I think we'd be having a very different conversation if Micah was in the tournament this year. However, Natsupoi has to be in that conversation for that reason, because Stardom need to invest now in babyfaces, because Saya Kamatani is not going to be able to carry the company forever. You're going to have someone beat her. And when someone does beat her, they are going to have to be able to carry that momentum forward. So that's where I think someone like a Natsupoi needs that build a little bit and then can be that person. Absolutely.
Good point.
Moving on then from Natsupoi, we move on to Rian. Bless her, Rian. There's not a great deal to say about Rian. I am very, very happy for her to have her tournament debut. Absolutely. And I know that I said during the announcements that 32 people is too many. I still think that 32 people is too many. However, that's not going to change anything. And I'm still very excited for the 5-star Grand Prix, so I'm not going to retread old ground. However, don't see Rian getting many wins, if any wins.
Really? I think me, Andy, and Amber have Rian going through.
I think you've misspelled Rena, mate.
You misspelled Starlight Kid. I'm terrible in English.
Oh, damn. I've managed to misspell Rian. N-A-T-S. Unfortunately, there's not a great deal to say for Rian. It's going to be a birth of fire, I think, this tournament. I think she's going to have some good performances, certainly. But there is going to be time in future tournaments for Rian. I think this is more a case of, and again, I apologize if this comes across as disrespectful, someone has got to finish last in the block. And I think Rian is that person, unfortunately. Again, and I'm hoping she has a really good, I think she's going to have a really good match with Sayaka Kurora. I'm really excited for that match, especially when you look at the style that Sayaka Kurora has. You look at the match that she's had with Hina today, for example. I think she is able to have that match with Rian. I think that's going to be a really good match. Rian's improving all the time. I think the match with Tomoka Inaba as well could be really interesting. I'm excited for that, of course, that happening on the last night at the Act City Hamamatsu show. But yeah, Matt, there's not a great deal to say about Rian apart from I do feel sorry for her a little bit because of some of the pastings she is going to take in this tournament.
As you said before, your dad said, if you're finished, you know, the reason why you're at the bottom is
yeah.
because the strongest. You know, you said a lot of great points, and I'm not going to rehash them. But let's stick to the positives. She is in the best block in this tournament. I don't think anybody's going to deny that. the experience that she's going to get, the little nuances she's going to pick up when this tournament is over, you're going to see her be a better wrestler. Now, I'm not saying push her to the red belt or the white belt after this, but you're going to see her being a better wrestler, because look at every single person in her block. She's going to have singles matches against. They're all fantastic. Again, Rina, Starlight Kid, Sayaka, Tora, Poi, Azumi, Tomoka, all great next level wrestlers where she's never really had those big singles matches before, and she's going to get them back to, each and every night. So the experience that she's going to come out of this is really going to be worth more than probably the, no offense, 0 points that she's going to put up in said tournament. But good for you, Rian. Big fan of you, and you are Micah's little drinking buddy. So
absolutely, gang signs Rian for days. This is going to be hilarious when she rolls up Rina in 30 seconds on the opening night. But yes, there are no days off for Rian, really, when it comes to matches. There are no easy matches in this tournament, full stop. But certainly for Rian, you look at that run in. I mean, good grief, that final four: Natsuko Tora, Azumi, Natsupoi, and Tomoka Inaba. Oh, poor Rian. Do you know what, though? Genuinely, just to end on a positive, I think her match with Natsupoi is going to be really exciting. I am excited for that match.
There's going to be, I told you, she's very much like a Waka. She's going to be, because she's got those really great roll-ups. And she got a win earlier today on the show with that backside roll-up, and she's been winning with the apricot roll-up. So you're going to see a lot of people biting on those falsies, because one of the many great things these Stardom wrestlers are doing, they make you believe for at least a half a second you're going to see an upset. And I think you're going to see that in just about every one of her matches there, buddy.
Moving on then, the Pink Devil, Rina, making her tournament debut amongst her best year in ring, having a breakout year, had a phenomenal Cinderella tournament, played the perfect heel to Sayaka Kurora's eventual tournament victory, had a blinding match with Starlight Kid at Path of Glory, a match, by the way, that we are running back on the 16th of August at Yokohama Budokan. Very excited for that.
Path of Thunder. And rock and roll.
Path of Thunder and rock and roll. What did I say? Path of Glory.
Path of Glory, because you're thinking of Power and Glory, Hercules and Paul.
That's exactly. Again, because I see Hina and immediately think Hercules Hernandez. Who doesn't? But yeah, Rina is someone who is going to have a fantastic tournament. I have her going through. I'm just going to put that out there now. I think she is similar to Natsuko Tora, a dark horse, and in that jackknife pin, in the hydrangea, and in her ability to break the rules as well, I think we are going to see a considerable amount of upsets. Now, I do think she beat Starlight Kid on the penultimate night. I think she beats her at Yokohama Budokan. I think she will beat either Natsupoi, Azumi, or Tomoka Inaba as well. I think she gets big statement victories during this tournament. Whereas for someone like a Yuna Mizumori or a Lady C or even a Waka, I suppose, it's less about performances and more about results for Rina. And I think Rina has shown herself to be well beyond her years in terms of ability, in terms of crowd work, in terms of match construction. I'm never not going to be a huge fan of the work that she does. And I think this is the perfect opportunity to really elevate her more than you already have done. I think her match with Azumi is one to keep an eye on at Korakuen Hall. Again, it's at Korakuen Hall. You know it's going to be a great match. I think that will be where Rina picks up that statement victory. Her match with Poi and Starlight. Again, look at that final four for Rina. Tomoka Inaba on the 3rd of August, Azumi on the 6th of August, Natsupoi on the 10th, and Starlight Kid on the 16th. I think if Rina wins 2 of those or picks up points from 2 of those, she goes through. And I have her going through.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, these final 4, I mean, Tomoka, Azumi, Natsupoi, Starlight Kid, that's really going to shake out how our tournament goes. Again, Tora, they can build her up like the bulldozer they did in 2023. So there's a possibility with that there. I think she wins her first 2 matches. But, even though those final 5, I mean, former red belt champion in Tora, Tomoka Inaba is somebody that's going to win pretty much everything. Azumi, the greatest high-speed champion of all time, and Natsupoi and Starlight Kid, your current Wonder champion former white belt champion. Again, we talked about Natsupoi now having a real good shot at her tournament's going to be really interesting, Rob. Just because if she wasn't in this block, I would say she's got a really good shot at going through. But I mean, Tomoka, Azumi, Natsupoi, Starlight Kid, they're kind of tough to bet against. Considering she's only 18 years old, I think maybe next year, the year after, is where she really makes that statement. But I see your point. I see your point on putting her through. Again, you have to have one or two heels to kind of play spoiler going into that playoffs. And Rena would be great because she's great at being a heel. And she's just a phenomenal, phenomenal next level pro wrestler at only 18, 19 years old, whatever she is. So I can see that. I really can see that. I think she'll have obviously she's going to have a great professional wrestling tournament. She's going to have great matches. Again, it's her tournament debut. There may be nobody in wrestling that has improved as much as Rena has from the end of last year's 5-star to the beginning of this one. Again, arguably the greatest Future of Stardom champion of all time. As soon as she lost that championship to Miyu Amasaki, and arguably the greatest Future of Stardom champion match of all time, they started building her up and then had, in my opinion, her best match earlier this year with Starlight Kid at Path of Thunder, and Rock and Roll. And you're absolutely right. I think it was genius putting that match on the final night before we go into the playoffs because they had a great outing and they're going to have another great one here. I don't think she goes through, but I think she's another one they're going to push up to the top of that card come the fall.
You're always going to have that surprise in the tournament, especially with having 12 people come out of the playoffs. Oh, sorry, go into the playoffs. I think you're always going to have that one surprise. You never tend to have all the people you expect to make it through. And I think that Rian is that one to book that trend. I think with Natsupoi, Azumi, Tomoka Inaba, Starlight Kid all in that block, Natsuko Tora all in that block, I think there's going to be one spoiler. And I actually think it's going to be Rena. So we'll see. We'll see. And again, we get to see another rematch between her and Sayaka Kurora. And we know the good chemistry that they have from the Cinderella tournament. So that's going to be very exciting as well. And speaking of the seemingly rechristened Stardom Dream, the Tokameki Spear, Sayaka Kurora, she enters her first 5-star Grand Prix tournament as well. This is going to be one where it's going to be all about the tenacity, all about taking a beating, coming back from it, looking like she's going to get the victory, and then stumbling at the last hurdle. However, unlike Rian, who I think is going to take a pasting and get beaten, I think Sayaka Kurora, bless her, I think Sayaka Kurora has got a lot of shocks under her belt, or up her sleeve, should I say. And again, pointed out already, 6th of August, Natsuko Tora. I think that is the big upset in this block. It would not surprise me at all if Sayaka Kurora gets the victory there. I'm intrigued to see where else she picks up points. We could potentially see a draw against Rena on the 30th of July. However, I think similar to how you feel about Rena is how I feel about Sayaka Kurora. I think this tournament comes too early for her to progress into the playoffs. Whereas I feel personally that Rena is capable of getting to that point and staying at that point. I think Sayaka Kurora will be there in a year, maybe the year after. But here I think it's more about performances and building on what has been a really, really good year for her.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, buddy. Again, Cinderella tournament winner. Whoever wins the Cinderella tournament, we're always pointing out like, oh, can she do the same thing as Toni Storm? It's only been done once in Stardom history. So we're looking at it, and again, for lack of a better term, she is a Cinderella wrestler in this tournament, considering this block as well. Again, you have that opening match with Natsupoi is going to be so good because of how great Sayaka Kurora is, and the fact that she's using the violent shooting a lot now in her matches. And who used to do the violent shooting? Tam. Who did Tam used to team with? Natsupoi. Really cool pairing on that opening night, and then her final match against Azumi. She's going to be somebody that I think can play spoiler, and that we may be looking at as we get to that final week or so, that will be in contention to make it. That will be like, not a lot of people picked her, and maybe she gets through. Again, I think it's a missed opportunity if we don't get a timeless Toni Storm promo saying, come on, you can do what I did back in 2017. So I think with her, it's going to be about the matches. Again, she's going to have these singles matches with some absolute killers. Natsupoi, Starlight Kid, Azumi. But I think that big win over Natsuko Katora after she's getting the dog beaten out of her for majority of the match, and then for her to come back maybe with a spear and a roll up to get the win over former red belt champion, and then kind of maybe even derail Tora's performance, I think that'd be really, really good booking and a way you can build up Sayaka Kurora towards the end of the year. I think she'll have a great tournament as far as matches goes. Obviously, get Stardom. Everyone's going to have a great tournament as far as matches goes. But I think she'll be middle of the road as points. I don't think she'll be like a 2 or 3. I think maybe a 4 or 5. I think is probably where she sit when this tournament is all said and done.
Moving on to Starlight Kid, the Wonder of Stardom champion going into this tournament, having successfully defended against Soriano today. I find Starlight Kid's tournament really interesting because at the moment, we've already mentioned, she is the biggest babyface in the company. However, people are going to have to beat her in the tournament because we need challengers for the white belt. And looking at this lineup, one name immediately jumps out to me, and I'm sure it'll be the same one that jumps out to you very shortly when we talk about it. However, I also think that Starlight Kid has to go through, and I think she has to go through very strongly. So she's perhaps losing only 2 matches in this. Now, for me, the first one that she loses is to Mocha Inaba on that opening night, because that's something we've been building for months and months now, this singles interaction between the pair. And to build that up and then just have Starlight Kid win would seem strange. I think Tomoka Inaba wins. That gives us a white belt match in between the final of the 5-star and Dream Queendom. Elsewhere, obviously, Azumi on the 2nd of August is a match that everyone is going to be highlighting. We know what those two can do. Generational rivals, eternal foes. Those two are going to have an absolute blow-away match. Do not be surprised if Azumi evens the score there, because at the moment, Starlight Kid is 5-4-1 against Azumi. Tora, I think, is another option to maybe beat Starlight Kid. She's going to have a target on her back, Matt Turner. First of all, first question, do you have her going through the block? Second question, who do you see upsetting the white belt champion and potentially getting themselves a white belt shot down the line?
I 100% have her going through. I think with 12 people in the playoff, it wouldn't make much sense if you have your 2 big singles champion not go through. Obviously, I said Kamatani's going to go through, Starlight Kid goes through, and when we get to it, Sari's going to go through. Because, again, those are kind of your 3 big main champions in this company. It wouldn't make sense to not have them go through. I agree.
Would be really funny, though, if Sari, having complained about everyone in her block, then didn't go through. Would be really funny. It won't happen. Sari will 100% go through.
She finishes last. It's just like, no, we're gonna bury you after you destroyed Shuri and center packing.
Guess a desperate draw on the last night against Ronnie. You got against Momo Kogo. I think she's got on the final night.
I got 1 point. Double count out in 7 minutes. It's gonna be a really good match. I love Momo Kogo. We'll get to that. Again, not only is she a phenomenal wrestler, Rob, we've seen her knocking on the door a few times of getting close, with the exception of 2023, a few times of getting close to making that final on that final night. She's on another level, not only wrestling, but star power, drawing power. She is your second biggest star in this company with the second most important belt, in my opinion, of all wrestling, that Wonder of Stardom Championship. And again, I cannot wait to talk to you about that match you have with Soriano from today. Goes, wow, I knew it was going to be good, but yeah, different levels of psychology, storytelling. I loved it. I think 2 losses and maybe a draw. I think maybe Tomoka, Azumi. That Natsupoi match is going to be really interesting because they stopped teasing that. They were teasing a return match, and then they put Natsupoi back up to Saya Kamatani, because Natsupoi, we know it's probably going to go through because of what happened today. Starlight Kid, I think, has to go through. I think that match will probably be a draw, and then you maybe fight out for the 1, 2, and 3 seeds. But you definitely will set up some white belt challengers, because I don't think even though Starlight Kid's keep saying, and they keep plugging it and promoting it, saying she wants to win this tournament and she wants to go to Sumo Hall to face Saya Kamatani in a double title match. As awesome as that sounds, the red belt and the white belt, they're 2 different titles. It's not like AEW, where I'm glad they merged Okada and Omega's title, because there's too many belts, where each championship belt has an identity in Stardom. So will that match happen? I'll tell you in a little bit my prediction. But But I think between now and the end of the year, I think Starlight Kid does drop the Wonder Belt. I think it's either to Tomoka Inaba or Izumi, and it's coming off this. What a better way to build up those matches than have her either lose falls or go to draws in this tournament, because I think everyone knows that Starlight, and you made mention, we talked about Saya Kamatani, when it's time to get that proper baby face ready to her to take the belt off. Is it Micah when she comes back? Pending, we don't know if she's coming back. Starlight Kid and Natsupoi, they're all right there. The other way to gaslight them to that next level babyface, Rob, is having a good showing and or winning this tournament. So Starlight Kid, I know she's gonna have great matches. She's a phenomenal wrestler. She's on my short list of wrestlers of the year again, especially after this match with Soriano she had today. I think she loses to Tomoka. I think she loses to Izumi. I think she draws with Poi. I think she wins all the other matches, and she does go through into the playoffs. Again, 12 people in the playoffs, you're not having your main champions not make it. It wouldn't do well for them. It wouldn't do well business-wise because, Starlight Kid and Saya Kamatani are massive draws. And 3, it would kind of downplay your belts. It would kind of really push the red, the white, and the IWGP belt down if you don't have them going into the playoffs. So I Starlight Kid, not unless the eye thing happens, which we do not like to talk about, especially during the 5-star Grand Prix. I think she's almost a shoo-in to make it into the playoffs.
I would argue that she is the shoo-in in Red Stars B without a shadow of a doubt. Again, she's the biggest babyface in Stardom. She has to go through. I do think that Inaba beats her, though, Tomoka Inaba, and ironically, we are going to Tomoka Inaba, the one-hit kill herself here.
Great photo, buddy. That's a really good one. She looks like she's ready to fight Danielson, or fight
exactly
Frank Dukes in the Kumite,
Very good references there. Yeah, Tomoka Inaba, again, had a really surprising tournament last year. I don't think people quite expected her to get the exposure that she got. Obviously, she was joint block runner-up alongside Azumi and Mei Seira, had great matches with them. Obviously, we'll have a return match with Azumi in this year's blocks. Would ultimately lose in the playoff for the quarterfinals. This year, I don't think she's as hot going into this tournament. Now, that doesn't mean that she's not going to have a great tournament. Of course she is. She's Tomoka Inaba. She's very, very good in ring. However, do I see her beating Starlight Kid Azumi, Natsupoi, Rina, and Natsuko Tora? No. And I think she has to beat the vast majority of them to get through in this tournament. I mean, she's got an absolute hellish opening to this tournament. She opens against Starlight Kid on the 27th of July. She's then got Azumi 3 days later on the 30th, Natsupoi after that on the 2nd of August, and Rina on the 3rd of August. Again, it's no let-up. I do think she beats Starlight Kid because, again, as I mentioned before, I think we're setting up a Wonder of Stardom championship match down the line. However, then going back to back to back with Azumi, Natsupoi, and Rina, I think we might see her fall a little bit of a way behind. Again, Tomoka Inaba has got age on her side. I believe she's 20. So, again, she has got many tournaments after this to be the blowaway. I think she's going to have great matches. Do I think that she is going through this block? Not quite. I think there's too much to ask of her here.
Rob, 4 of the most vocal and passionate fan bases in Stardom are Starlight Kid, Azumi, Natsupoi, and Tomoka Inaba. One of these fan bases is going to be upset because one of these wrestlers aren't making it through. And I know you mentioned Rina has a shot at making it through, and maybe even Tora. So it's like, but as far as those 4 big fan bases, you're going to upset one of them. What's a way to kind of make it up to said fan base by not going through? I mentioned we just talked about Starlight Kid. If Inaba defeats Starlight Kid on night 1, she pretty much will get a title shot in the fall, and then she doesn't go through. So it's like she didn't go through, but guess what? She's sitting on, Rob. She's sitting on a white belt match coming up. So it's like that's one way to kind of, maybe silence the fan base again. And again, I love Tomoka, but I know when she didn't win the Cinderella tournament, a lot of people were upset. And again, she's great. Azumi's great. Natsupoi's great. Rina's great. There's a lot of great wrestlers in this block, but some fan bases are going to get upset. And I think Tomoka does not go through. But I think a good way to satisfy that fan base is you give her a big main event championship match against Starlight Kid, a big one-on-one match that we haven't seen Tomoka have in Stardom. She never had that really massive one-on-one main event match. Obviously, she had the red belt match last summer against Micah, but that was for just tap out. She didn't have, the whole big Stardom stage to set. So I think, again, if she doesn't go through because she gets ever so close towards the end, only for her to then have a guaranteed white belt shot coming up in the fall, I think it'd be a good way to go through. She's going to have great matches. Again, you're right. She's Tomoka Inaba. I just don't see her going through. And it's because, again, Starlight Kid, Azumi, Natsupoi, Rina, tough to bet against them, my friend. Tough to bet against them.
Absolutely. And again, I'm hoping that we do strengthen Tomoka Inaba. I know that Tomoka Inaba actually recently has come out and said she has no intention of leaving Just Tap Out, which is absolutely fair enough. And I know that she's running her own produce show as well in October. I do hope that she continues to wrestle for Stardom, though, because I feel like the more that she does wrestle for Stardom, the stronger she's going to get and the more exposure she's going to get. Whether Stardom will give her that almighty push when she's still a freelancer or when she's still signed to another company, I don't know. Possibly not. However, if she's given the opportunity against a Starlight Kid for the white belt, if she's given the opportunity to shine in a tournament, I think she is going to. I just don't think that the focus is there for Tomoka Inaba in this one. Again, had Natsupoi not had the match that she had at Sapporo Rendezvous and all of the post-match stuff, I might have said differently. But especially at the moment, it seems that the focus is elsewhere. And that's absolutely fair enough. Moving on then, Red Stars B overall, Matt. Only 3 can go through. Who goes through for you, my friend?
What is your do you want to do your seating first, or you want to go through all the notes I have over here for my tag partner and my life partner? Not you, my wife. You know what I meant. Don't take offense.
I mean, I am taking offense, but we'll move on. It's fine.
Well, well, even though I shared an altar. Well, hold on. I'm going to put you over. Even though I shared an altar with my wife, who got pictures around the same time I did with Julia, Io, and Kyrie during Vegas.
That's true.
I didn't share that with my wife. I shared that with you. So relax over there, Fukin Death. Relax.
So I've got Red Stars B winning the block. I've got Starlight Kid. Coming in second, I've got Rina. And then in third, I have got Natsupoi.
That is some good seeding, sir. That is some good seeding. I am looking at Andy Hedder's block. He has Starlight Kid as the number 1 seed. He has Natsupoi as the number 2 seed and Azumi as the number 3 seed. So interesting things there. I would go with mine, then I would go with Amber's because Amber really thought off left field. I have Natsupoi as the 1 seed, Starlight Kid as the 2, and Azumi as the 3. Very similar. And then Amber has Azumi as the 1.
Okay.
Tomoka Inaba as the 2.
I wouldn't be disappointed.
Sayaka Kurora as the 3.
Again, though, what did we say? That again, I apologize to all the Rionators out there. I know that you are strong, and I am one of you. But she's the only one I don't see going through. If Sayaka Kurora was to sneak her way through in this block, it would not surprise me at all. And I do think sometimes that your lovely wife knows things that we don't. I mean, she does know things that we don't, but in relation to Stardom, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if Sayaka Kurora does go through. I'd be very intrigued to see how they did that. And again, we know that she's someone that Stardom see a lot of potential in, inheriting Tam's moves, calling herself the Stardom Dream, winning this year's Cinderella tournament. It's an interesting one. I like that, Mr. Turner. Let's start talking about Blue Stars then. So Blue Stars A is as follows. We now know that it will be Uriah Hime who makes her tournament debut. She beat Akira Kuragane today at the Sapporo Rendezvous to claim that last spot in Blue Stars A. We've then also got Bozilla, Aya Sakura, Miyu Amasaki, Saya Ida, Sayori Ano, Amisori, and Ruaka to make up the rest of that tournament. And it's the returning Amisori that we star with, God's chosen big girl, making her 5-star return after being injured just before the 2024 tournament. Obviously sustained both a meniscus and an ACL injury at the same time. Has been out for basically a year for all of the arguments. It's basically a year. She comes into this tournament, Matt, as someone that I have absolutely no doubt whatsoever that Stardom will want to push, because she was teetering on the edge of a big push heading into 2024. And I think obviously the injury derailed that. I think now, with the absences, with the people who've left, and with Amisori coming back in time for the tournament and looking in really good condition, I think she is someone that Stardom will be looking to for the future. Obviously, doesn't start easy. Aya Sakura and Sayarida. I think Sayarida is a match I'm really, really excited about. Sayarida I'm excited about in this block, full stop. But Amisori and Sayarida on the 1st of August is one to keep an eye on. Soriano against anyone in this block is another one. However, and I know that you're the same, there's one match that I am looking forward to the most, and that is seeing her against Bozilla, final night of the blocks at City Hamamatsu. The two sort of meatiest meets to ever meet in terms of a Stardom ring. We saw a little bit of an exchange in Korakuen between the pair, but I'm looking forward to seeing what they do in a singles setting. I think Amisori goes through. I think Amisori is the shoe-in to go through, aside from Bozilla in this block, at least for me.
I think she needs to go through. Like, she's not that Kamatani, sorry, like they can win the whole thing. But I think she's someone. Go ahead, sir.
No, just one other thing, actually, with you saying for a number of reasons. Don't forget as well that God's Eye is currently missing their leader. So Amisori is going to be someone who they are going to look at to lead this God's Eye faction in Shiori's absence. A great showing here in the 5-star Grand Prix, having great showings against the likes of Bozilla, against Sayarida, against Aya Sakura and Soriano, I think is going to be pivotal to Amisori's remainder of the year.
Yeah, you said about a minute and change ago, partner. It looked like she was somebody they were going to really push in last year's 5-star. If you remember at Flashing Champions, she had that main event, great match with Soriano for the Wonder of Stardom Championship. It was a really great match that over-delivered. And literally looked like they were planting the seeds to maybe not win the tournament, but like get a lot of big wins and then push after the tournament. She gets injured. We were waiting for her to come back. They did a great job showcasing her. Like, she'd do interviews and promos or coming to the ring during her hometown shows. And you're waiting for her to come back. And she is back, pun intended, like a thunderbolt, Rob Goodwin. Absolutely crushing it. New look, the best shape of her career. She looks like an absolute killer. I think you're absolutely right. There's 12 spots in the playoffs. I think Ami getting one of those spots is going to do a lot of wonders for not only her, but the company. You're absolutely right. We don't know when Shuri is coming back from that injury, and she's the leader of said faction. So Ami Story can step up in Shuri's absence to kind of be like the makeshift leader to hold, be the glue to hold that together. And what a better way to do it than not only having a great showing in this tournament, but making it to the playoffs of the biggest tournament in Stardom's history. There's some great matches. Her and Aya, her and Ida, her and Anu running it back again from the match last year. But you're absolutely right. That match with Bozilla is going to be fantastic, right up my alley. I think she's the one that needs to go through, at least for her progression of her career. And again, for Stardom to push more people in the wake of the absences of all the wrestlers that they've lost over the last year and change. I think Amisori is the perfect fit for that. I do see her going through into the playoffs.
Yeah, that rematch with Soriano for the white belt, that will take place in Utsunomiya on the 3rd of August. That's a match to circle in the calendar. That's going to be a great match. Again, Soriano against anyone in this tournament is going to be great. Similar to Sayarida, I think Sayarida is going to have a great tournament because Sayarida is great. Spoilers. But yes, I think I'm in complete agreement with you. I think Amisori has to go through. Aya Sakura, the high kick angel, making her tournament debut. I would love to see Aya go through. I really would. of all of the rookies that Stardom have brought through recently, whether that be Hanako, whether that be Sayaka Kurora, whether that be Matoya Hamabe, whether that be Kikyo Furusawa, Emma Maishima, Aya Sakura is the one that I find myself most invested in, whether that is because her style is the one that most resonates with me, whether that's because just her matches have been the most excited about, her singles matches with Sari, with the match with Yuna that she had at the Sendai Girls show was fantastic. She keeps improving and offers something a little bit different as well. Now, again, she has a mountain to climb here because she opens the tournament against Amisori on the 27th of July. She's got Bozilla on the 9th of August and closes the night against Miyu Amasaki on the 17th of August, who she has an 0-3 record against. Do I see Aya going through? No. Do I see Aya having great matches and coming out of this tournament stronger than when she went in? Absolutely. Those aforementioned matches, Amisori, she's going to have a fantastic match with. I really do think she's going to have a great match. Sayarida, I think she's going to have a great match with. Miyu Amasaki on that final night, that's going to be a great match as well. I think it's going to be a great performance from her throughout the tournament. But unlike Sayaka Kurora, who I think could sneak through, I think there's too much firepower here for Aya Sakura to sneak through, Matt.
Yeah, again, I think she's going to be one that has those 3, 4, 5 points. She's going to kind of be in the middle of the road. She's going to have a great tournament. You made mention she's having great matches as Sendai Girls Junior Champion because they're giving her time to tell the story. She's going to have time in these matches to tell the story. And again, maybe I'm just fantasy booking. We talked about it earlier in this episode, how they put Hanan and Yuna Mizumori in the same block, maybe potential goddess challenge. You have Aya and Sayarida. Yeah, so it's like, that could you can literally have maybe the Cosmic Angels team go 2-0 in those matches again if Wingori does retain. And regardless, that's a match I'm really looking forward to the most. Soriano and Aya Sakura might be the match I'm looking forward to the most in this block, but her and Bozilla is going to be fun because Bozilla is an absolute killer, and Bozilla does have that wide base and is a good feed for Aya Sakura's offense, the kicks, the forearms. So you're going to really see Aya throw about 80 kicks to try to, chop the tree down that is the mighty Bozilla. That is going to be a fun one. But her and Amisori on night one to kick this tournament off, I think could be one of the matches that does steal the show in this 12-card matches that we do have. 16 matches that we do have.
16, yeah. Stop underselling it, Matt.
Yeah, that's right. 16, baby. But I'm really looking forward to her. Again, very much like a lot of these wrestlers making their tournament debuts, like Arena, like Rion, that they're coming out of this tournament. They're going to come out with a lot more one-on-one experience in bigger matches. I'm really looking forward to her tournament. I think she's going to be one that we're going to be talking about when we review this whole entire tournament as a possible breakout star this year. Again, she's fantastic, going in with a lot of momentum, and she has the right opponents. She has the right dance partner in every single match to really accentuate all of her positives. So I'm really looking forward to. She's one of the wrestlers outside of your Zumis and your Saya Kamatanis and Starlight Kids. Obviously with the exception of those wrestlers, she's one of the wrestlers I'm really looking forward to her tournament the most because I cannot wait to see her improvement coming out of this loaded block.
The biggest European powerhouse, Bozilla. Now she's certainly made an impression on the Stardom roster, getting massive cheers today in Sapporo in that 6-woman tag against Neo Genesis. Crowd really behind her. And Taro Okada made a very interesting point in an interview he did where he said one of the biggest intrigues at the moment around Bozilla, aside from the fact that she is an absolute, as her nickname suggests, powerhouse, who is going to be the first one to beat her? And you look at her calendar, I think Bozilla goes through. I'm just going to put this out there because she's too dominant not to. She's not going to lose. I would argue she's not going to lose more than one match in the blocks. I'd be very surprised if she loses more than one match. And I also think I know what match that will be, but that's beside the point. I think she is going to have a very, very dominant tournament, especially up until we get to the playoffs. They've built her as a monster, and I think she's played that role really well. I also think Stardom have done a tremendous job of not giving us Bozilla in a single setting just yet. They've put her in 6-woman tags, 8-woman tags, where she can show her power in bursts and give us a taster of what's to come. I think doing that rather than putting her straight into a load of squashes was the best thing for her, because now we're looking at these singles settings and going, right, we know what's coming, because we saw a little bit of a tease with Miyu Amasaki today in Sapporo, and she's got Miyu at in Utsunomiya on the 3rd of August. The match that sticks out to me the most, and the one that really sticks out to someone that can beat Bozilla, is Saori Anou on the 6th of August in Korakuen Hall. And the reason that is, at least for me, just before I have to let you go, Matt, whilst I nip to the loo, is because of what you mentioned. She has a wide base. Who can chop down that wide base? Who can ground Bozilla? Who can roll Bozilla up? We saw when she was a part of the Dream Star last year in Marigold that one of the people she struggled against was Mai Sakurai, because Mai Sakurai rolled her up in the Paradise Lock and then ran away, which is wise. It's what I would do if I was faced with Bozilla. Apart from the fact I wouldn't do the Paradise Lock, I'd just run away. Saori Anou with the pottering and with the legwork that she performed against Starlight Kid today, I think has proved that she has more than enough about her to beat Bozilla. And it's believable as well. Saori Anou is a former 2-time Wonder of Stardom champion. Like, who wouldn't believe that? And again, if Bozilla then goes through the entire rest of the roster, she can claim that it's a fluke. You could almost believe that it was a fluke as well. The only other person that I think has a potential is Amisori on the final night. 17th of August at City Hamamatsu, arguably to see who is going to top the block, who's going to come second in the block. Amisori could well beat her, but I think in terms of power on power, I think Bozilla just has too much, which is why I think she beats the likes of Sayarida, why I do think that she'll beat Amisori. I just think in terms of pure power, Bozilla just has too much, which is why I think it's someone like a Saori Anou on the 6th of August that'll beat it. I just have to nip to the loo, Matt. Please continue.
Do your thing, buddy. Do your thing. But the one interesting with Bozilla, even before the tournament, she has her first big singles match in Stardom on Thursday, a few days before, in Korakuen Hall against Azumi for the New Japan Strong Championship. And I mentioned this last week on the Stardom cast when I recorded. Like, who wins that? Like, you brought Bozilla in, a lot of fanfare. She's dominant. You're getting great run in Marigold, great matches all around. Just really just a big ass kicker. And who wins that with her and Azumi? Because it's Azumi's V1. If it was Azumi's V4, V5, I would say Bozilla. So it's like, who wins that one? And I think Azumi does, because she has the Azumi Sushi. And then how do you build Bozilla back up? Well, you start 3 days later. You start 3 days later in this tournament, and I think she runs through Ruaka. I think she runs through Uriah Hime. I think she but I think she has a really good outing with Miyu Amasaki. The Saori Anou one is tricky. Saori Anou one is tricky because I think Bozilla is going to be very dominant going into that match. Again, I think Ruaka, Uriah Hime, she runs through. Miyu might get a couple things on her because, again, that show in Sapporo earlier this week, again, this morning as we're recording, Miyu was able to throw some forearms, and she had her rolled up with a leg capture O'Connor roll, which is a really great near falsy. I think she wins that one. I think she goes in undefeated with Saori Anou. I don't know how that one plays out, because Saori Anou is somebody that can win this tournament. Saori Anou is somebody that you can plug in as your next big baby face. So I think that one goes to a time limit draw, but I'm not really sure how that one goes. Rob Goodwin, you did like Matt Turner. That was very fast, buddy. That was impressive.
Thank you very much.
So I would just make mention that I think that Bozilla is going to be pretty dominant up until that Ano match. I don't know which one that one plays out. The Aya match is going to be really fun. The match I'm really looking forward to the most is Saida.
I knew that would be the one you were enjoying.
That's the one. When Bozilla first came into Stardom, I was like, okay, we know she's going to be in the 5-star. What are matches? Literally, the first match, I'm like, her and Shuri. Well, that got thrown out the door. But I was like, I want to see her and Saida, because one would be a great match. And two, Rob, we almost saw that happen literally right in front of us at WrestleCon. As when Gordon was leaving, I was like, oh man, they're going to throw down. That's the match I love Saori Anou. And I can't, once we get to her, I had kind of a theory on what may or may not happen with Anu. But that match I'm looking forward to the most as far as Bozilla runs go is Saida. The Amisori one will be really good. And I did make mention right before you left that I think Azumi beats her in Korakuen Hall, and then Bozilla runs through that. You build her back up by running through this tournament. Maybe she goes into that playoff undefeated. Maybe a time limit draw with Anu, but it's a possibility she goes into that playoff as the number 1 seed. What a great way to build her back up. Because whatever happens in that match on Thursday, if Bozilla wins the championship, the Azumi fans are going to be like, she just finally won a championship and now she lost. But if Azumi wins, the Bozilla fans are going to be like, you brought her in only to lose to Azumi. I think that Azumi does win. And then how do you build Bozilla back up? You start 3 days later, boom, boom, boom. There's a good possibility she runs through her block undefeated. And I'm going to make a bold prediction that she time limit draws Anu, and then pretty much either wins everyone, or maybe she trips up to Ida because of the Ida body. But I think Bozilla definitely goes through.
Oh yeah, Bozilla for me is top seed. She goes through top seed simply because I don't see, apart from those that have got the quick roll-ups, in terms of a power battle, she just has too much. I think they missed a trick not having Koguma in this group, simply because I think Bozilla versus Koguma would have been absolute comedy gold. Just watching Koguma run away for the entire 15 minutes as Bozilla chases around the venue would have been brilliant.
You know what would have been funny if they're running like a big venue like Korakuen Hall, and she runs all the way to the top, and then on the way down Bozilla trips and Koguma gets in the ring at 19 and wins by count out like 2 minutes.
Imagine. Yeah, I think this is going to be great. I think the singles matches are going to be great for Bozilla and her development, but also I'm really excited for the likes of that Saori Anou match, the Aya Sakura match, the Sayurida match, and the Amisori match. I do feel sorry for Uriah Himi. Talk about a birth of fire in terms of your first 5-star Grand Prix, but there we are. Someone needs to be fed to the Bozilla, and unfortunately it is Uriah Himi. And Ruaka in her first 2 matches, so hashtag pray for Uriah Himi. Miyu Amasaki then blooms at the top, which I didn't realize until I was doing this graphic, that was her nickname, but apparently it is. There we go. Made a tournament debut last year, got 3 points. Had some really good matches last year as well. This year has the potential to go one better. So she ended on 3 points last year, 1 win, 1 time limit draw. I think she beats Uriah Himi, obviously opens the tournament against Uriah Himi on the 27th. She then goes through a properly tricky phase. Saori Anou on the 1st, Bozilla on the 3rd, Sayurida on the 9th. That is a tricky 1, 2, 3. Amisori then on the 11th, but I believe that's in her hometown. Is that the one in KBS Hall? Let me just double check. No, the 9th is the KBS Hall show. So Sayurida is in her hometown. Maybe, just maybe, in a battle of Amana Hashidate versus Iidabashi, Miyu Amasaki is the one that comes away with the victory there. Maybe. Then, of course, Amisori. Winnable matches against Ruaka and Aya Sakura. Obviously has a 3-0 victory record against Aya Sakura. So if it does come down to the final night, she will come into it very, very confident. I don't see her quite getting through, though. I like Miyu Amasaki. I think she's another one who's improved tremendously. I think Neo Genesis is the best thing that's happened to Miyu Amasaki. I don't think she goes through, though. That might just be me. I think there are really good matches in there. That Sayurida match in KBS Hall is going to be great. Her match with Amisori is going to be really good. And that final night match with Aya Sakura is one I'm really looking forward to as well. However, with Bozilla in there, with Amisori, who we've both said we think needs to go through, Sayurida in there, Saori Anou in there, I think she just misses out. However, I think it'll be another tournament where performances really begin to come on.
Yeah, I totally agree. 4, 5 points maybe for Miyu, but this is one that she's going to come out as a better wrestler. That match with Soriano is the match I'm really circling. Aya Sakura one's going to be great. Yeah, I think she picks a win on Uriah Himi. I think she picks a win up against Ruaka. Again, her and Saida, if Wingori does come out, Korakuen Hall as the tag champs, or even if it is BMI 2000, if Miyu does get a win over Saya and or Ruaka, potential O2 line tag team championship match. We haven't seen them challenge in quite some time, and Neogenesis is the hottest thing in Stardom right now. That is not Saya Kamatani. But I think, 4 or 5 points is where she gets to, but she's going to come out of this a much better wrestler going in, very much like last year. So you're just going to see the continued improvement of Miyu Amasaki. Again, I'm looking forward to all of her matches, especially that one with Soriano. That Bozilla one will be fun, considering, again, she did roll her up with a leg capture O'Connor roll today, and it was a really great policy. And I'm glad I'm looking at it because I'm going to try to sound out the Anamana Hadadashi. The leg capture with the leg capture O'Connor roll with the backman bridge. It's easier for me to say. She's going to have a really great tournament as far as match quality goes, but yeah, I see her kind of middle of the road, Rob.
We talked about Saya Iida being the one to roll up Bozilla. We talked about Soriano to be the one to roll up Bozilla. We did see it teased today, like you mentioned, that Miyu Amasaki could be the one to roll up Bozilla. Now, I don't know why. I just didn't really consider that. But now you've brought it up, maybe we see Miyu Amasaki as the one that rolls up Bozilla. I'd be very surprised. I mean, it would be a surprise for Bozilla to lose to pretty much anyone in this block aside from Soriano. Do you see it being Miyu Amasaki, or do you think that might be just a bridge too far for Miyu?
We'll find out, buddy. Upsets happen all the time in this tournament. And again, they did a good job teasing it on today's show. Again, today, Monday, the Rendezvous show, depending on when you listen to this. So they planted the seeds there. They did a great job planting a lot of seeds on this pay-per-view. We're kind of like, why are they having a pay-per-view on a Monday? From what I understand, it's a holiday in Japan, but 6 days before the 5-star. Maybe this is the reason why. Maybe this was the reason why. So, we shall see, my friend. But, yeah, don't sleep on that one with her and Bozilla on the first. Or on the third. I'm sorry, on third.
Moving on to Ruaka, the Violent Freezer. Ruaka, who, of course, made her debut in 2021, was subbed in last year for Natsuko Tora and actually picked up her first 5-star Grand Prix win and her first draw, as well as she went on to pick up 3 points. Again, I don't see her picking up many points in this tournament. Of course, there's always the hate factor where you have got seconds at ringside, the crate shot. We might see her pick up a victory over the likes of a Saya Iida. I do think she will pick up the win over Aya Sakura, for example. She may even beat Miyu Amasaki on the 16th of August in the Yokohama Budokan. However, if you are asking me if she is going to cause concern to the likes of a Bozilla, to a Soriano, no. However, there could be the opportunity for shenanigans for her to roll up the likes of a Amisori, for example, who she's got at Korakuen. I mean, there's a reason that match is at Korakuen. Is that the match that Amisori ends up tripping up? Or where Ruaka hits her with the crate behind the referee's back, rolls her up 1, 2, 3? Who knows?
Yeah, it's a possibility. And if you remember Ruaka, she was the last second replacement because Tora's like, I don't want to be in this tournament. And we're just like, okay, your champion's not in the tournament. Ruaka lost a qualifier, got disqualified in a qualifier to be in this tournament. Mm-hmm. We were kind of just like, she was the one wrestler last year. She shouldn't be in this tournament for a lot of reasons. And the tournament did so much good for her. Great matches with Konami and Hazuki. Mike, a really great match.
Minami as well.
The Minami, they rolled the dice and they went 15 minutes. And we're like, wow, that was really, really good. So again, this is a tournament that she can really try to prove herself as a singles wrestler, like we did see in last year's tournament. Really looking forward to a lot of her matches. I think that Uriah Hime match is going to be a lot better than most people think because it is towards the tail end of the tournament. And I wouldn't be shocked if you see them two really, really, breaking out a lot of cool stuff. I see her, Robbie, at 2-3 points, maybe 4 points max. Again, maybe getting a win over Aya, maybe a win over Uriah. But that's really about it. But again, she can be somebody that may spoil, they may bust the bracket. Because again, in the middle of this tournament, she has Amisori and Soriano, which I know a lot of people do have going through to the playoffs. Can she play spoiler in the middle of the bracket?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Again, the hate factor is going to play into, I feel, Ruaka a lot more than any of the other hate members because it does feel like Ruaka relies a lot more on interference than the other wrestlers do. We'll see. I might be completely wrong and she might out-wrestle Soriano. I doubt it, but it could happen. But yes, I don't think this is Ruaka's year to go through. I do see her being Uriah Hime, as I unfortunately see everybody beating Uriah Hime again. Someone has got to come last in the block. Maybe that will go to a time limit draw with Aya Sakura. Maybe that could be the big match there. We will see. Again, I think Ruaka will be towards the bottom of the block. One person I don't think will be there, though, is Saori Anou, the absolute indomitable girlfriend, apparently, which is her nickname. There you go. Saori Anou, who missed out just on the quarterfinals last year. If you remember, I believe it was the last night she missed out because of Starlight Kid. So, again, a little bit of a proving ground here. But I do think that Saori Anou goes through some really exciting matches. Saya Reader on the opening night is going to be fantastic. The match with Bozilla, again, I circled straight away because I was like, that could be the potential stumbling block for Bozilla. Her match with Amisori and Miyu Amasaki are both really exciting as well. And of course, we've got the All Cosmic Angels clash on the 11th of August with Aya Sakura. Matt, I know you're a huge Saori Anou fan. I would be absolutely amazed if you haven't got her going through. What else is there to say about her?
Yeah, you mentioned last year, I believe it was Kagama that rolled her up, and then Teru Okada showed her the point system. I think she stayed at ringside for the Starlight Kid match.
She watched it. Yeah.
And then when Starlight Kid won, she was just like, oh no, because she was really not dominant, but she was really ahead of the pack the whole entire tournament, only to literally be tripped up and rolled up by a bear. So sometimes the bear gets you. Sometimes the bear gets you. We made mention a couple times in this podcast that you have to, if there's going to be a baby face to take the belt off Saya Kamatani, you need to really start building certain people up. You really need to get that baby face, gaslit them. Possibility for Azumi this tournament, Natsupoi as well, Starlight Kid as well. Don't count Saori Anou out because she's phenomenal. She's fantastic. Again, somebody is a proven draw. Somebody is a proven draw and a next level competitor. I would not be shocked if Saori Anou wins this whole entire thing. I think this would be a great way to really, really build her up and then make it look like that she can defeat Saya Kamatani for that World of Stardom Championship. Again, you need that next level babyface, and Saori Anou is right there. She's a next level wrestler. There's not too many wrestlers on planet Earth that's as good as Saori Anou. I say it almost every week on the Stardom cast. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it again when we review that match with Starlight Kid from today, now or later this week. God put Saori Anou on this planet to be a professional wrestler. She is a phenomenal wrestler in every aspect. I think she absolutely goes through. I think she's going to have some really terrific matches against Saida on night one. We've seen what great chemistry these two have when they're part of their respective tag teams with Wingori and Soroi. The Amisori match is going to be terrific. The Bozilla one, we talked about it. That's going to be one we're really going to be circling around. And then her against Miyu Amasaki, Neo Genesis versus Cosmic Angels is always really good. And then right towards the end of the tournament, Rob, where she's going to be taking on fellow Cosmic Angel member Aya Sakura. I just think those last three matches that she has, I don't want to say are shoo-ins, but I just don't see Ruaka, Aya, and Uriah defeating Saori Anou. Now, with that being said, she'll go 0 for 3 and she'll miss. But I think those three are the ones that are going to put her up in the block and in the playoffs. And I do believe I do. We'll talk about it in a moment. I do have her as the 1 seed. I think I do. And I also have her on my short list of wrestlers that can absolutely win this tournament because, again, she's absolutely fantastic. I'm a massive fan of Saori Anou.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. She does have an advantage in the fact that she does have all of the favorites in the block near the start of her run. So her run goes Sayurita, Miyu Amasaki, Amisori, Bozilla. So actually, she has got all of the quote-unquote favorites out of the way. I think Aya Sakura could be a triple. I think Aya Sakura, I don't think beats Saori Anou, but I think maybe gets a time limit draw. And not only does that elevate Aya, but also could potentially throw a spanner in the works come the 16th and 17th of August. Because, of course, as we know, Saori Anou wasn't wrestling on the 17th. She finishes against Uriah Hime on the 16th. I have Saori Anou going through as well. I just don't have her going through as the 1 seed. But again, she's a phenomenal wrestler. Do I see her? You made a really interesting point. You see her as someone that could win the entire tournament. Do I see Saori Anou as someone winning the entire tournament?
Take a step back, Rob, and don't overthink it. Do her. We all think Kamatani's walking into sumo red belt champion. Again, not unless the eye thing happens. I don't like talk about it. Can Saori Anou and Saya Kamatani do over 4,000 tickets in Sumo Hall with the right build and a good undercard underneath it. 100%. Who wouldn't want to see that match?
Well, I didn't think that Suzu Suzuki would win the tournament, and yet here we are. She won the 2023 tournament, and yes, it was with injuries, but that's by the by. This could be a great moment for Sayori Ano. It could be the moment that we're elevating people into that position. We had that conversation about Natsupoi, and I feel like it's more likely with Natsupoi than it is with Sayori Ano. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I'm certainly not disregarding it, though. I think it could happen. Absolutely. Moving on to the second to last person in this bracket is, of course, Saya Ida, the macho Gori herself. Saya Ida, I'm going to be perfectly honest, was the one that I could not place. I found her really difficult to place. Now, she had a phenomenal tournament last year. Really, really good. And yes, she only got 4 points. She only won 2 matches, all tournaments. She beat Tam Nakano because everyone beat Tam. But had a really good match with Momo Watanabe, a fantastic match with Mayu. Yet, do I see her coming out of this tournament? I mean, she opens with Sayori Ano. I think that could be the real pace setter for Saya. If she beats Sayori Ano, I think she goes through. If she loses against Sayori, I don't think she goes through. I think it could come down to something as simple as that. The Amisori match on the 1st of August is going to be key as well, because those two wrestlers wrestle so similarly that their styles are going to mesh really, really well. You've already highlighted the Bozilla match on the 11th of August as one that could potentially be a slip up for Bozilla. I don't know. I'm so on the fence, and I've flip-flopped between Saya Ida and Sayori Ano and Saya Ida and Amisori. But again, you talk about focus, and this is what I was saying about Tomoka Inaba. Is she a fantastic wrestler? Absolutely. Is the focus on Saya Ida at the moment? No. Who needs to go through in this tournament more, Saya Ida or Amisori? I would argue that Amisori needs to go through more than Saya Ida does. Now, if Saya Ida wins this tournament, or wins the block, I would be over the moon. I'm a huge Saya Ida fan. I'm absolutely made up. I'm certainly not going to lose any sleep over it. However, if you are trying to build people, I feel like Amisori needs to go through, because I do think it will be between Amisori and Saya Ida. I think Sayori Ano and Bozilla are going through. I think it is between Saya Ida and Amisori, which is what makes that 1st of August match so exciting, because that's the one that I'm looking at straight away. Amisori, 1st of August.
Yeah, those first 2 matches with Ito, Anu and Amisori, those are probably and the Bozilla one, those are the 3 I'm looking forward to the most. But I agree. I think Amisori needs it more, because, again, we're 7 months into this year. What has Saya Ida done this year? In my opinion, she's one half of the best tag team in all of wrestling. Not Stardom, all of wrestling. You tell me another tag team that has had the match quality that Wingori has had. Between the Starbomb match and between the Soripoi match and the Crazy Star match and the FWC match, they've been having unbelievable matches. Then we throw Momo Kogo in on the house shows. They've been in great 6-person matches. So it's not something that Saya Ida needs. But you're absolutely right. If that Ida wins the whole tournament, hell yeah, put the crown on the gorilla. I'm all for that. I'm massive fans of one Saya Ida. I think she finishes 4th. I think she just misses out in the block. But at the same time, I think she will definitely have more than 4 points. And she has a lot of really interesting matches ahead of her. Again, that Ano match at night 1 is one of the matches I'm looking forward to the most on Sunday. And then she goes right up with Amisori next. And then, potential rematch, obviously a rematch with her and Ruaka. Again, Cork and Hall coming up on Thursday. But it's insane the level of wrestling we're getting from Stardom in 6 days. Holy cheese. But I'm really looking forward to her tournament. Obviously, she's a next level wrestler. We've seen that in tag. We're definitely going to see it in the singles matches in this tournament. But I agree. I think she just barely misses out on missing the playoffs.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's one of those things where being a fan of so many of the wrestlers does mean that some of your favorites do miss out. I think Saya Ida, again, as we've said with so many others, there are other tournaments. And I think the focus will be on Saya Ida in other tournaments. I just don't think this one is the one for Saya. And finally, bless her, Uriah Himi made it through to her first tournament, beating Akira Kuragane today as we record on the Sapporo pay-per-view. And what is her prize? She gets Bozilla on the 1st of August. And I genuinely think that Bozilla, we might well be witnessing a murder on the 1st of August.
I think Uriah Himi's going to beat her up that bad, huh?
Well, I mean,
I had to.
That figure 4 neck lock she locked in today looked vicious. So, I mean, unfortunately, I see Uriah Himi going 0-7 in this tournament. Again, a focus is going to be on her shortly. She's a star in the making. Absolutely. She's got the look. She's got the charisma. She's got the aura. I think there's certainly room for improvement. Of course, she only debuted, in January? So there's plenty of time for her. Again, she's in this tournament. It'll be experience. It'll be a development. I think her match against Aya Sakura on the 3rd of August is one to keep an eye on. And I think her match against Rawaka on the 11th of August is one to keep an eye on. However, I do think she ends up with 0 points.
Quick sidebar. My house smells so good right now. You're going to have to keep me
So
on.
does mine. Kirsty is cooking, and I can smell it. It smells amazing.
Wish we had smell-o-vision here, folks. Maybe next year. Maybe next year.
Maybe.
This tournament for her is all about just getting other people points and, most importantly, getting her more experience, bigger matches. Again, there's going to be a lot of eyes on this tournament just because, again, just how white and red hot Stardom is. You're throwing Sari in. You have Bozilla coming in, B. Priestley, Kamatani, Starlight Kid, Anu Poi, Azumi, all massive stars. More eyes are going to be on Uriah Himi. And again, she debuted that new look a couple weeks ago at New Blood. She's great in the ring already. Charisma, aura, that early on. This is just going to help her out, getting more reps in front of bigger crowds, more eyes, worldwide eyes on her. So ultimately, I agree. 0-7. She's going to be at the bottom of the block, holding it up, Rob, as we said once again. But again, she's going to come out of this tournament pretty much a star because of how many people are going to be like, wow, that Uriah Himi, she's pretty darn good. And she only is going to be on the upswing after this tournament. But yeah, I think her and Anu, I think that's going to be a really fun match. Her and Ida, that's going to be a terrific match. I think the Bozilla match will be like the biggest squash of this entire tournament. It's going to be like, when Bozilla debuted in Marigold after those first few shows, they just had her working squashes so that she can establish who she is. We now know who Bozilla is, but I think that's going to be the old Marigold squash, Bozilla and Uriah Himi. But I'm looking forward to what Uriah Himi is going to do. I'm a massive fan of hers.
Yeah, I think she's going to be great. But yes, unfortunately, she is going to be a punching bag for Bozilla here. But again, it's not the fact that she's going to lose; it's how she loses. How much determination and grit is she going to show? Because the chances are, in a lot of these cards, she's going to be opening the show, or on the second match of the card, or in inconsequential positions. So she's got to make the most of that. And again, it's high-profile singles matches, getting those high-profile singles matches, under her belt. So, Blue Stars, A-Mat. I will go through mine again, as long as you don't mind. In third seed, I've got Amisori going through, Sioriano as the second seed, and then Uriah Himi as the top seed. No, of course, it's Bozilla. Bozilla will be going through as the top seed, making a mess of the competition, I imagine. So Bozilla 1, Sioriano 2, and Amisori as 3. Saida just missing out. Same with Miyu Wamasaki.
Andy Header has Bozilla as your number 1 seed. He has Amisori as the number 2 seed and Soriano as the number 3 seed. So
yeah, I imagine that everyone is going to have roughly the same sort of thing.
I'm looking at my wife's thing again. She's really thinking outside the box here, Rob. Number 1, Amisori.
Interesting.
Number 2, Soriano. Number 3, Saida.
Wow, Bozilla not getting through at all.
Not going through at all. I guess Bozilla's dad was really nice to her at WrestleMania weekend. I wonder what's going on there.
That's the feud we need at WrestleMania next year. Ulf Herman versus Amber Turner.
Oh man, I have Amisori as the 1 seed, Bozilla as the 2, and Ami as the 3. That one of the many things I got hung up on is the seeding with Sori and Bozilla. That could be 1 or 2, but I do have Ami going through as the 3rd. But I think majority of the folks do have Amisori, Bozilla, and 1 Soriano, good sir.
So the final block, Blue Stars B, as we approach the 3-hour mark of the podcast, we
Damn
reach
right.
the last block. And arguably, I would say the easiest one to call in terms of who is going through, at least going through number 1 seed. We have Sari, Momo Watanabe, Hanako, Hina, Momo Kogo, Rani Yagami, Suzu Suzuki, the only previous winner of the tournament in this year's tournament, and Konami. So, Matt, I've put my cards on the table. I think I'm pretty confident with who is going through out of this block. I found this one the easiest one to do. I actually found the seeding pretty easy to do as well. But we will go through as we have done before, and we start with the Wonder Tower making her tournament debut. I think Hanako could be a little bit of a surprise package here because aside from the top 3, and let's not beat around the bush, I think the top 3 are going to be Sari, Momo Watanabe, and Suzu Suzuki. In whatever order you think that they are going through, I think those are the top 3 in Blue Stars B. And I think that the rest is up for grabs. I think between Hanako and Konami, I think they are going to be vying for that 4th seed alongside Arani Yagami as well. Hanako's tournament actually starts. She could be 2-0. You know, Rani Yagami on the opening night on the 27th, followed by Momo Kogo on the 3rd of August. Then it does get a little bit tricky. She goes Suzu Suzuki, Momo Watanabe. Sorry.
Konami.
And then Konami. Yeah, absolutely. I think that Konami match is going to be a really interesting one on the 16th, not only because it's the penultimate night of block action, but also because you've got Hanako's raw power versus Konami, who is very submission based and very strike heavy. And I think those two styles will always mesh well because you've got the submission person trying to grind down the power. I personally think that Hanako does pick up key wins. I think she beats Rani Yagami. I think she beats Momo Kogo. I think she beats Hina. However, I think she goes a time limit draw. I think she gets a draw anyway against Konami. Because again, Stardom are very, very obviously on the Hanako train. They are big fans of her. They are, they pushed her into a white belt match, basically said sink or swim, and I think she swam. I think she did a very good job with SLK. I think a key victory here in a tournament where she's not getting through, it's again more about how are you going to perform. I think a key victory, a key draw, or picking up points against one of the bigger competitors, I think is a must for Hanako. What about you?
Yeah, I'm going to kind of just run through my Hanako stuff, and then I'm going to tag off for a few seconds to get rid of some water, buddy. But yeah, I totally agree. She gets a win over Rana. She gets a win over Momo Kogo. That match with Suzu Suzuki, that is one I'm looking for.
Another one.
I mean, obviously, once these blocks were announced, we're getting Momo versus Suzu again. We're getting Sari versus Konami, Momo and Suzu. But that Suzu versus Hanako match, kind of in your first few matches, that's going to be one that's going to be hard-hitting.
At Corrigan as well.
Oh, that's a Corkin. Yeah, hard-hitting, right up my alley. I think that she is probably going to finish maybe 4th in the block. Again, I think me and you kind of have the same 3 people. I think Header as well. I'm sure my wife has something completely different because she's
absolutely. Hanako wins the block in numbers.
But she's gonna have a great tournament. Again, there's so many tournament debuts that you're looking like, oh, that person's gonna be great. That person's gonna be great. They did not have Hanako win that Battle Royal on the biggest show they've ever done, an All-Star Grand Queendom, and then main event against Starlight Kid in Corkin Hall for the Wonder Belt just for nothing. And again, obviously, Starlight Kid was in that match, maybe the biggest baby face in this company, depending on how you see Saya Kamatani. Another story for another day. But they have big plans for Hanako, and she's somebody that's going to have a lot of points in this tournament and is going to be in contention, probably going into that final week. You're absolutely right. I mean, look at Suzu, Momo, Sari, Konami. Just goes to show you how loaded this tournament is. Really is. I think she'll have a great tournament, great matches. Once again, her strengths, they put her in the perfect block because those the Suzu match, the Momo and Fanabe match, the Sari match, the Konami match, those are matches that are right up her alley. Hard hitting, great, big bumping, great back and forth, really showing fighting spirit against really some bruisers, absolute bruisers in pro wrestling. I'm really looking forward to her whole entire tournament. especially those last handful of matches. I think she just gets right about there, Rob. I think she's somebody that we talk about as one of the breakout stars in this tournament. Rob Goodwin, I shall be back in a few seconds, brother.
Okay, make sure you wash your hands, Mr. Turner. Sari is the one that I'm really intrigued by because Sari, as we know, is a bruiser, a brute. I'm really intrigued to see how she fares against Hanako, with Hanako trying to lock in the Shirasagi and Sari basically cutting down the monster and just obliterating her with strikes. I don't think that Hanako beats Sari by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, I don't really see, apart from Momo Watanabe, who does beat Sari. But I think Hanako is going to have a very good tournament, and I think it is, as Matt said, I think it's going to be between her and Konami vying for that fourth space in the block. Moving on then to the next person in Blue Stars B, and that is the Azure Fighter, the current future of Stardom champion, Hina, making her tournament debut. And Hina is someone who we mentioned how the Future of Stardom Championship had been such a key part of the development of both her sisters, Hanan and Rena in particular. But I would argue that the Future of Stardom Championship has done more for Hina than it did for Rena, because Rena was already a star, or a star in the making, should I say. And Hanan, everybody saw the potential in Hanan, and everybody knew that she was the heir apparent to Mayu Iwatani. For Hina, she always felt like the third sister. And I feel like this Future of Stardom run has really helped to define her, because she's been putting on great matches, developing in confidence. I mean, the confidence that she showed in that Sayaka Kurora match today really is completely against everything we'd seen prior to her winning this belt. So it's great to see that development for her. Now, has this tournament come at the right time? Absolutely. We're seeing a completely rejuvenated Hina, a confident Hina doing the best in-ring work she's ever done. And that's great. And she's going to have really, really good matches. The ones for me, Konami in Korakuen Hall. I think Konami and Hina are going to have an absolute belter. Her and Rani Yagami, the show after, on the 9th of August. Of course, you can highlight Suzu Suzuki, Momo Watanabe, and Sari in everyone's bracket. But those two, for me, Konami and Rani Yagami against Hina, are the ones where I think Hina's style is going to be complemented the most. Now, is she going to be challenging for block leadership? No, I'd be very surprised if Hina is still in the conversation by the time she takes on Hanako on the last night. However, as we've said multiple times over the course of this podcast, it'll be about performances. It'll be about development and having those high stakes singles matches against the best in Stardom, in Sari, in Momo Watanabe, in Suzu Suzuki. And that's what I'm really excited for in terms of Hina's tournament, Matt.
Robin, any sport, whether it's soccer, football, MMA, you always, when you start getting momentum and start hitting your stride at a right time, sometimes timing is everything. We see in the NFL and NBA playoffs that you'll get a team that was just doing okay, and then all of a sudden they got really hot towards the end of the season and they go into the playoffs and they're a threat or may win the whole thing. Hina's coming off with a lot of momentum that not a lot of people are talking about. It really seems ever since that she became a full-time wrestler after she graduated school, she wins the Future of Stardom Championship and pretty much is having great matches. In my opinion, the third best match on that loaded show from earlier today had a great match. Before we hit the record button, partner, I told you I thought it was a genius idea putting that match on first, especially me running on less than 3 hours of sleep. Really got me going. Her matches have been great. Really, yeah, even when Rena was champion and she challenged her a couple times, she's coming in with a lot of momentum. And again, is on my short list as one of the most improved wrestlers in all of wrestling. So we do have a lot of first-time wrestlers in this tournament, the tournament debuts. He is the one that I'm looking forward to almost as much as Rena and then Aya and Sayaka because of what she's been able to do at that Future of Stardom Championship. And not only that, like when Hanan had the belt, because of how low the roster was in 2022, majority of Hanan's matches were like 5-6 minutes long because you had to give time for the Shuris and the Julias and the Utamis and so on and so forth. Hina's matches are 10 plus minutes and she's having great matches. And again, they put her in her block with the right dance partners, Suzu, Rana. The Momo Kogo match, I think, is going to be terrific. The Sari match might be a little bit of a, lack of a better term, murder, but the Konami match is going to be good, and the Momo match is going to be good. I'm really excited to see what Hina does here. I'm saying 2, 3, maybe 4 points overall, but I think this will be a phenomenal showing for Hina. and to really put over the Future of Stardom Championship. Again, there's going to be a lot of new eyes on this tournament. And I think a lot of people are really going to look at Hina and say, wow, that's a fantastic, fantastic young wrestler that we have in the sport of professional wrestling. I think you're going to see Hina's stock go way up as a professional wrestler after this tournament, thus putting up the stock of the Future of Stardom Championship.
I said before, Matt, that Hina needed the Future of Stardom Championship more than Rena did and more than Hannon did. And I think she's proven that with that vehicle, she's been able to do a lot of good work. And I'm hopeful that even in losses, I think she does possibly beat Momokogo. She probably goes to a time limit draw, maybe with Rani Yagami, maybe sets up another match there. Either way, I think she's going to have really good matches. And again, I'm really happy to see that she is asserting herself in these matches and growing in confidence. Even if, yeah, absolutely, that Sari match will probably be a murder. Moving on then to the Cold Psycho, Konami. Konami is another interesting one. Konami is someone who on her day can beat anyone, but can also lose to anyone, which makes it extremely hard to predict where she is going to finish. Now, luckily, she is in a block where the first, second, and third seeds are pretty much guaranteed. Again, 99%. This is wrestling after all. This will be, for me, more about what Konami turns up. Now, on her best day, Konami is phenomenal. We saw that in the absolute destruction of Starlight Kid during that Wonder of Stardom Championship match at the Cinderella Tournament Finals. That was great. That's the Konami I want to see turn up. I want to see Konami on the 27th of July turn up and give Sari a hiding. Okay, we know that Sari likes to wrestle stiffly. We know that she likes to bring out the strong style, to channel the Inoki, for lack of a better phrase. I want to see Konami show the vicious brute that she can be. Yeah, she's going to lose to Sari. I have no doubt about that. I want to see her absolutely blitz her. I want her to go down swinging. And if that's the Konami we see, I remember during the 2021 tournament, and Konami was an absolute brute. She was torturing people in the ring, literally ripping their limbs apart. That's what I want to see. I don't care if she ends up with 2 points at the end of the tournament. If she is destroying people in the match, and that's the Konami we see, a legitimate, scary ass killer, that's what I want to see from Konami. She's not going to win the tournament. She's probably not going to progress through the block. But it's about what Konami turns up. And I think those 1-2 matches, Sari on the 27th, Momo Watanabe on the 1st, and again, it's a 8 versus 8 match, so take that with a pinch of salt. That will set the tone for Konami's tournament. And I'm hoping beyond hope, we get fully engaged Konami, because that is a terrifying prospect for anyone that steps in the ring with her.
Yeah, again, we're massive fans of Konami. We know she does the spray can thing. She's actually backed off of it a little bit over the last year.
She has actually, yeah.
But at the same time, we still get worried about it. Again, she had a great match with Hazuki at last year's 5-star, and then the spray can thing get down. I'm like, this was like a 4 to a 4.25 star match, and then it was just
so
too
annoyed.
Much. And I think Hazuki's outfit was mostly white, so I was like, well, ref, what do you think happened? Where do you think she got all that black from? But again, you got to give a lot of credit to the booking of Stardom, because you can tell they spent a lot of time putting these blocks together, because this is an absolute killer block, like of hard hitters. Sorry, Rani Yagami, Suzu, Hanako. Again, Hina's a very good, judoka. So you have that Momo Watanabe.
That's one I'm really looking forward to. Hina versus Konami. That is a match I'm genuinely really excited for.
Yeah, that's going to be great. And Momo Kogo, obviously not a killer, but a great wrestler. I can't wait to talk about her. I'm so excited for her to be in this tournament. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm sorry on night one. Like, let's set the tone. Let's set the tone from here. And what if Konami takes her to the 15-minute time limit draw and then run it back for the IWGP? I don't think anybody would say no, but you're absolutely right. When Konami is on, she's an absolute killer. Again, she made it to the finals of this tournament in 2019 before losing to the late great Hana Kimura. So experience. Again, I'm looking at the records over here, partner. She does have 25 or 45 matches, which again, that is a lot of matches considering of all the newer wrestlers we have in this tournament. I think her tournament is set up for her to have some banger matches. but I don't see her making it out of the playoffs just because, again, I think who all of us do have. The Hina match is going to be interesting. The Rani Yugami, as far as matches that are going to be like over improve, they're going to over deliver. Obviously, we're all circling Sari, Momo Watanabe, and Suzu Suzuki. But I think the Hina and Rana match might be like, oh wow, like those are going to be some low key bangers. I'm really excited to see Konami's progression coming out of this tournament.
Yeah, it's not the big hitters that I'm looking forward to seeing how Konami does, though. Again, that Sari match, I'm looking forward to seeing which Konami turns up. It is the Hina match at Korakuen Hall. It is the Rani Yagami match on the 3rd of August. And actually, the Hanako match on the 16th of August in Yokohama Budokan, again, because I want to see how those styles mesh. I'm really excited for those 3 matches instead. But again, I'm completely with you, my friend. I don't see Konami getting out of this block. Matt,
we love
of all the people who've made it into the tournament this year, Momo Kogo, aside from Lady C, Momo Kogo is the one I was most happy to see in the tournament because she was so unlucky to miss out in qualification last year. Lost in the qualification final, and then Ruaka ended up in there anyway. Momo Kogo has been putting in the hard yards, for years now. From the first time she teamed with Mayu as Peach Rock, from all of that stuff with Hazuki, that tough love stuff with Hazuki, the difference in her is phenomenal. And that is without even considering the stuff that she has going on outside of wrestling. To do the stuff that she is able to do with the conditions that she has is incredible and inspiring. And I mean that. I love her. I think she's absolutely fantastic. That being said, she will not be getting out of this block. Unfortunately, much as we love Momo Kogo, much as we are huge fans of Momo Kogo, much as she is one of the loveliest people we've ever met, I mean, she opens with against Momo Watanabe on the 27th, which is never a good start. And then she's got Suzu on the 1st of August. And then she finishes her tournament against Sari on the 17th of August. I don't see Momo picking up enough wins to even challenge for 4th, never mind the top 3. Again, however, performances. Okay, it's the Rani Yagami match I'm excited to see. It's the Hina match that I'm excited to see. It's the Hanako match on the 3rd of August that I'm really interested to see. Let's see how Momo Kogo can do there because she doesn't have great singles records against these people. She's got a 1-0 loss record against Hanako, a 2-0 loss record against Suzu. She's got a 1-0 winning record against Rani Yagami, which is good. It'll be great to see if she can build on that. But Momo Kogo, Matt, again, unfortunately, not in the conversation, I don't think.
No, we're just happy that she's in there. And again, you mentioned everything that she goes through, and she does it with a smile on her face. She is the quintessential 1970s, 1980s baby face that you can get behind for the easiest possible reason. She's going to be fighting from underneath on pretty much every single one of these matches. And I think you're going to see Momo Kogo get some of the biggest reactions on her comeback or when she's taking heat, because again, she's going to be taking, licking, but keep on ticking. It's why we love Momo Kogo. Post All-Star Grand Queendom, we knew there were a lot of wrestlers that would have to step up, and Momo Kogo has stepped up maybe more than anybody on the undercard. I'm so glad that she's in this tournament. She is damned earned, not deserved, earned the right to be in this tournament. Again, but that's the positive side. We love Momo Kogo. We know she's going to have great matches with everybody. However, Rob, I think she's probably going to finish either at the last of the bottom of the block or right about there. But again, I think it's going to be about the performances from Momo Kogo, and I'm really glad that she's in this tournament because she's absolutely earned said right. So good on her. But yeah, she's in a block of just some absolute killers. I mean, just absolute killers.
Yeah, she's had to step up, obviously, with the mass evacuations of people from Stars. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that parlays into these matches that she's going to have. And of course, she starts in one of the hardest ways possible against Momo Watanabe on the 27th, who is, I'm just going to put this out there, my favorite to win it. I'm still standing by that train. I'm standing by my convictions, even though it's not really going to work I'm still standing by the fact that Momo Watanabe is going to win it this year. She's definitely making it out of this block. I think it is between her and Sari who tops the block. But I really want to see face Momo Watanabe against heel Saya Kamatani. And that might just be me fantasy booking. But there's just been enough flashes, like the historic crossover show where she refused to use the bat against Mayu. You know, there's been little bits that have just shown that maybe I might be reading too much into it.
Nope.
I don't know.
I'm going to help you out here, sir. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Let me know when I can go because I'm going to help you out.
No, it's absolutely fine. I think she's going to have a great tournament. I think she is getting through this block without a shadow of a doubt. I think victories over Momokogo, Ronnie Yagami, Hanako, Hina, I think is more than going to see her enough into there. However, the match of the blocks is going to be Momo Watanabe versus Sari. 16th of August, Yokohama Budokan. Put it in your calendars, ladies and gentlemen, because that is going to be an absolute war. And I hope more than anything that we disregard that baseball bat, we disregard hate, and we just let these two women go at each other. Do you know what? I wanted to go to a time limit draw. Not because I don't want to see a winner, but because I want to see 15 minutes of these two women absolutely rip hell out of each other. Now, will it? I don't know. The chances are Sari is going to go through this block unbeaten. However, that match, Sari versus Momo Watanabe, was the one that I immediately, out of every single block, was the one that I was immediately drawn to because I know how hard both these women hit. I mean, who was it we spoke to that said Momo was one of the hard? Oh, Utami.
Oh, Io Shirai said.
And Io Shirai, of course.
And then she goes, you really know your JoJo because I asked her who hits the hardest between Momo and Maya. She thought about it. She goes, Momo. She goes, Momo hits harder than anybody. I was like, oh.
Well, Utami said hers were the hardest, and then Mayu's were the quickest. So again, we know how hard she can hit. We know that, again, as we've mentioned before, Sari is going to come out of this block just swinging, looking for as much aggression as she possibly can because she has been spouting off about how there's no one in this block that's even close to her. Okay, that basically they've put her in a block full of losers, and I am hoping that Momo takes that personally.
I think that Sari goes unbeaten up until that final night, and then her and Momo go to the draw, thus getting Momo in and Sari the 1 seed. At least that's how I have it shaken out. I'll tell you in a minute, partner. But to talk about, again, we're talking about you have to gaslight a baby face for Sai Kamatani. Now, can you do heel Momo Watanabe versus Sai Kamatani? Sure. Who's not going to say no to that? But man, you have to remember, Momo Watanabe was a completely over babyface as a leader of Queen's Quest, but she kind of hit her ceiling at that point. And then now they turned her. Now it's at a point where they can turn her whenever they want. Not Matt Turner. I just realized I just said that. But Rob, out of all the independent shows that we went to WrestleMania weekend last year and this year, with the exception after Micah winning over Megan Bain, because that match was awesome, Momo Watanabe and all those shows we went to the last 2 years, WrestleMania weekend was the most over babyface on any independent show that we went to. We went to a lot the last 2 years. She's insanely over. And again, they want to tap into that American audience. They love Momo Watanabe. She wrestled Mercedes Moné twice in the United States in the last handful of months. They put her on a pay-per-view in LA on AW Revolution in a great match with Mercedes. So can they go that way? Sure. Again, Rob, as we're recording today, it was the Sapporo show where Momo Watanabe accidentally hit Ruaka with that kick. So they're starting to plant the seeds into maybe the Momo Watanabe face turn. You have to remember, we do have Cork and Hall coming up on Thursday. The possible main event of that show is Team Saya Kamatani versus Team Sari, because that's a possibility they're going to go with there. Momo Watanabe is on that team. Is it a possibility Momo Watanabe accidentally hits Konami or Saya Kamatani, helping Team Sari to get the win? I think that's what's going to happen in Cork and Hall. And you're going to see members of Hate getting in Momo's face saying it's too much air apparent with the baseball bat and the kick. You plant the seeds a little bit today, and then you really plant more seeds in Cork and Hall going right up into this 5-star. There's a very good possibility Momo Watanabe wins this tournament, and as we're getting towards her and Saya Kamatani, we are flipping Momo Watanabe back to babyface, and possibly bringing back Queen's Quest. Maybe I'm getting a little too greedy, but another story for another day. I think Momo has a really good shot at winning this tournament. There are a lot of people that want to see her win it, especially the English-speaking audience. She's going to have a great tournament. I'm so excited for to see what she does. She kind of has, sorry, Momo Koga, we love you. She kind of has a gimme on night one. I think it's going to be a great match. I think there's going to be some near falls, but I don't think there's not too many people that think that Momo Koga is going to win that. But as far as matches that we're really not penciling that I think could steal the show, her and Rani Yagami is one I think is going to be an absolutely fantastic match. Because Rani Yagami, we're going to talk about her. She's somebody that's really, really upped her stock over this last 8 to 10 months. But I agree. I think Momo Watanabe is a really good shot at winning this whole thing, buddy.
Absolutely. And I think as well, Momo Watanabe never really lived up to the expectation. And I think that's a really key thing. When Io left, it was Mayu and it was Momo. And Mayu was on an upwards trajectory, and I feel like Momo plateaued. And you mentioned it, as a babyface, she plateaued. She reinvented herself, and you've already mentioned just how over she was in the US. Do I think Stardom will pull the trigger on her? I don't know.
It's tough with Kamatani and Starlight Kid that's at 1 and 2. You can understand why. If there were more you have one of your two biggest drawing wrestlers in the last handful of years in that company is your 1 and 2. But eventually you have to pull the trigger to give somebody else a chance. And
we've just talked about it, Matt. We've just talked about it, about how the fact that we need to blood new baby faces.
Right there. We saw it work. And you look at The Rock, for an example. Babyface, they did as much as they could. The fans eventually turned on him. When heel, he was so awesome as a heel. He became the second biggest babyface in that era next to Stone Cold Steve Austin. That's where they're kind of at with Momo Watanabe. I mean, I don't think she's going to be, starring in certain movies with Kevin Hart, but I think she's a harder hitter than The Rock. But the Peach versus The Rock. Oh, come on.
Oh, look at that. Central Intelligence 2 featuring Momo Watanabe. That's what we all want. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, the chances are that she will just stay heel. But I think there's more than enough there that you could turn her babyface. And anyway, she is the one that I've got highlighted or penciled in as my winner.
Spoilers for 20 minutes.
Spoilers. Beat striker Rana Yagami making a second tournament appearance. Let's put it this way, a veteran tournament wrestler, having just made it to the final of the Catch the Wave tournament, missing out in the three-way, unfortunately, to Kohaku. But again, another tremendous effort from Ronnie Yagami after doing really well in the tournament the previous year, getting into the 5-star because of the injury to Amisori, but then putting on a really, really good performance in there. She's another one, similar to Hina, similar to Hanukkah, where it is going to be more about performances. At the moment, the focus is not on her. Again, every match that she's in, she's going to give everything. She's going to have great matches. We've seen what she can do against Sari. Okay, that rematch is going to be on the 1st of August. I'm looking forward to that. The match with Konami on the 3rd of August. Momo Watanabe at Korakuen. There's a reason that that's at Korakuen. Okay. Again, I don't think she's coming away with many wins. She's going to be either bottom or next to bottom, I would have thought. However, the focus on her will be in a couple of tournaments' time, where she is given that chance to shine. This is not that tournament. This is certainly not that block. Unfortunately, Rana is in there with the likes of Sari, Momo, and Suzu. And we haven't even spoken very much about Suzu in the grand scheme of things. I just don't think Rana is getting many points, if any, here.
She got another bite at the apple against Sari. Had a great match in Cork and Hall a handful of weeks ago. The match I'm looking forward to the most is that final night with Suzu Suzuki. That's one of the matches I'm looking forward to the most on that overall final night. I think it's going to be a really great one. But that's going to be one where Suzu is just on the cusp of qualifying and she needs to defeat Ron Nigami. And they'll have a great 10, 12-minute hard-hitting match. But I think that's where Suzu will then punch her ticket into the playoffs. You're absolutely right. She had a really good tournament last year. She was thrust in there last second because of the injury to Amisori. Really good runs in the Catch the Wave tournament this year and last year. I think she's going to have a really solid run. I don't see her getting more than 4 points, but at the same time, great match with Hanako. Sorry, couldn't I think it's going to be a really terrific match, God's Eye versus God's Eye. As far as match quality goes, I think she's going to have a really, really standout tournament, but I just don't see her getting too many points because of just the heavy hitters, legitimately. And she's with a heavy hitter as well. She's a heavy hitter as well, but I would not be shocked in 2 or 3 years if she's somebody that makes a big run to the finals of this tournament, because I'm a massive fan of one Rana Yagami.
I think she loses to Sari on the 1st of August, but she has got something to prove on 2 fronts. Of course, she's the protege of Shuri, so she'll want to avenge that loss at the conversion, but also she will want to avenge her own loss that she suffered at Korakuen Hall on the 8th of June. So there's lots of different little things that go into the Rani Yagami and Sari match on the 1st of August. And speaking of Sari, let's talk about the current IWGP Women's Champion. I think most people's favorite to win this block and has to be considered a contender to win the entire tournament simply because of her star power, of her wrestling muscle, of her track record. I think she has to be considered a tournament favorite. I personally don't think she will, but I think similar to Bozilla, whoever beats Sari, it is going to be a huge deal. It will be made into a huge deal, Matt.
Yeah, I agree. Every one of her matches is going to be must see, and who's going to be the one to defeat Sari. Again, she came into this, she came in, challenged Shuri, beat Shuri, and again, phenomenal. One of the best matches of the year in all of wrestling, is basically saying everybody's a jobber in my block, yada, yada, yada. There's certain wrestlers that have stepped up, Rob, and again, we'll get into that, how it may be playing into some of my playoff brackets, but it's basically Sari versus everybody in Stardom. They don't care if you're Hate, Neo Genesis, Stars, doesn't matter. Sari is pointing herself out to be public enemy number 1, and she's welcoming it, which is going to be great. But you're absolutely right. Who is going to maybe upset Sari in this tournament, because she's an absolute killer, and they have a lot of stories with her going into this tournament with a lot of different wrestlers. So we'll see how everything shakes out. I'm really looking forward to a lot of her matches. The match I'm looking forward to the most, maybe the whole entire tournament that's not the playoffs, is that match with Momo Watanabe. I think that
Absolutely.
I think because it's 15 minutes, I don't think 15 minutes is enough time for the two of them to try to destroy each other. I think that goes to TLD, but other than that, I can't really see anybody else beating Sari until we get into the playoffs, partner.
No, agreed. I think the whole storyline of her being too dominant is going to play into that. And again, you're not going to see her drop points against the likes of Momo Kogo or, a Rani Yagami or a Hanako. Bless them. Moving on then to our final person in Blue Stars B, and that is, of course, as I mentioned before, the only person to win the tournament previously, and that is the Crimson Frenzy girl, the leader of Mi Vida Loca, Suzu Suzuki. Now, Suzu comes into this tournament, as I mentioned before, not only as the only previous winner, but also with a winning record against almost everyone in the tournament, in a block, should I say, with the exception of Sari and Konami, who are her first-time matchups. A 1-0 victory, a 1-0 record against Hina, who she's got on the opening night, Momo Kogo, Momo Watanabe, Hanako, and a 2-0 winning record against Rani Yagami, who she faced on the last night. Suzu Suzuki has a lot of momentum heading into this tournament, and I think short of overconfidence or short of a trip up, she has got qualification in her own hands.
I think we're going to halfway through this tournament because we're focusing on Bozilla's debut. What the three big champions, Kamatani, Sari, and Starlight Kid doing? What's going to happen with that block that Azumi is in? What Natsuko and Smoke Inaba? That were almost flying under the radar of how just an amazing wrestler Suzu Suzuki is. I don't think she wins the tournament. I think she goes in the playoffs for a couple of reasons. One, you can hype up. Will she be the only 2-time winner of this tournament? 2, we need to build back up Suzu Suzuki. And 3, she's the leader of a new faction that they're doing really well with. And 4, she's a great wrestler. She's just a phenomenal wrestler that you want in that playoff scenario. But I think we're going to be halfway through this tournament, and a lot of people will be like, oh, damn, we forgot how just amazing Suzu Suzuki is. I'm a massive fan of Suzu Suzuki. I think she's going to have a terrific run in this tournament. I think that her final match with Rani Yagami is going to be one that she needs to win to make it into the playoffs, and I think she will, for the reasons why I said. I think those playoffs, those 12 wrestlers have to be your next level wrestlers, which is easy to say because majority of the wrestlers in this tournament are next level wrestlers, but they need to be the best of the best. And Suzu Suzuki is the best of the best. And sometimes we forget that, and sometimes we take it for granted. But I think she's going to make a massive statement in this tournament, Rob, where people are going to say, I'm damn Suzu Suzuki, and I am phenomenal, and I am the future of pro wrestling. I'm excited to see what she does in this tournament, especially with that match with Sari. I love seeing her and Momo Watanabe break it down, because, you know, they're not above, not only to be hard hitting, they're not above bending and breaking the rules and taking that match outside of the squared circle. I'm really looking forward to her tournament, for her to really reestablish herself as one of the best wrestlers on this loaded roster.
And let's not forget, obviously, that match with Sari on the 9th of August is one that people will have circled. Suzu Suzuki takes an ungodly amount of punishment. She's been a deathmatch wrestler. Like, there's going to be very little that Sari can dish out that Suzu hasn't already seen, hasn't already taken, hasn't already got up from. And I think that match is going to be a real banger. And I would bet that will probably be the main event of that show. And that's one that I'm really excited about. Really, really, really excited about. I'm also really excited for that Konami match on the 11th of August as well. Moving to our blocks then, Matt, or the block, should I say, the final block. I imagine that we all have the same three going through in Sari, Momo, and Suzu Suzuki. I would hazard a guess, Matt, that we all have the same seeding as well. I have Sari as number 1, Momo Watanabe finishing in 2nd, and Suzu Suzuki finishing in 3rd.
I actually have Sari number 1, Suzu 2, Momo 3, but you can flank either way. And then Andy's the same way. Rob Goodwin, as you know, on a personal, professional level, there's really not much I love in this world other than my wife, but I'm looking at what she has here. Clearly, she is focused on the apple pie baking contest. She has Konami number 1, Momo Watanabe 2, Suzu Suzuki number 3. So sorry, I should hear it said.
This is what we said.
Sorry, you're not going to qualify. She doesn't have her qualifying at all. So okay.
I love that. I love that. She gets so confident and cocky that people just obliterate her. Like, Ronnie Yagami rolls her up in like 3 seconds. Oh, it would be so funny if they did that. They won't, and hopefully they actually don't. But just quickly then, before we get to the actual brackets, I'm not going to go through every single night for the matches, because that will be the podcast's already 3.5 hours. So, however, I do just want to quickly remind you of a couple of key dates in terms of the blocks. So we open on the 27th of July in the Ottawa City Gymnasium. Just a couple of matches, just to remind you of what is on that opening night. Hanan versus Suzuki Inabe, Saya Kamatani versus Lady C, Starlight Kid versus Tomoka Inabe, Natsupoi versus Sayaka Kurora, Sari and Konami, which I imagine will probably main event. Bozilla making her singles debut against Ruaka, Sayarita against Saori Ano as well. We then go to the 6th of August to that Korakuen Hall show, the first Korakuen Hall show with the playoffs taking place there. Saya Kamatani versus Hanan. That Korakuen Hall show, 6th of August. B. Priestley versus Mei Seira, a match we didn't make enough of when we went through the Red Stars A group. Rina versus Azumi, I think, is going to be a real closet banger. Momo Watanabe versus Rani Yagami. Hina versus Konami, which is one that I'm really excited for. And then, of course, Suzu Suzuki versus Hanako. And then if we go to the Yokohama Budokan, the penultimate night of block action, Saya Kamatani versus Mei Seira, B. Priestley versus Lady C. Both of us have highlighted that as a great match. We've also got Starlight Kid versus Rina running back that great white belt match. Sari versus Momo Watanabe, which has got to main event, has to main event. Nothing else is main event in that show. But there are, again, some really great matches on that penultimate night. And then the final night of block action takes place on the 17th of August, Act City, Hamamatsu. Saya Kamatani versus B. Priestley in Red Stars A is one to immediately look for. Hanan versus Yuna Mizumori. Starlight Kid versus Natsupoi. Tomoka Inabe might need to win that match against Ryan Amisori versus Bozilla as well, are the matches that jump out from there. Once that's all done, then we move on to the playoffs. So again, I want to thank Brandon on our Patreon for pointing out that I did indeed make a mistake. So top of the block blocks. So if you finish top, you get a bye straight into the quarterfinals. Now, what I said happened was that Blue Stars A2 and Blue Stars A3 would then have a playoff match. That's not the case. So the way the bracket plays out is that Blue Stars A winner will get a bye into the quarterfinal. They will face then the winner of Blue Stars B2 and Blue Stars A3. In the next one, the winner of Blue Stars A block again gets a bye into the quarterfinal. Blue Stars A2 then takes on Blue Stars B3. Other side, Red Stars A winner will take on the winner of Red Stars B2 and Red Stars A3. And then the Red Stars B winner will take on the winner of Red Stars A2 and Red Stars B3. So those are the way that the brackets will shape out this time. There is still a Blue Stars side and a Red Stars side. It's just that the playoffs will be done between blocks. Now, Matt Turner, I would like you in a moment to go through your block all the way through to the winner, if you do not mind. Just a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, that both playoffs and quarterfinals will be taking place on the 20th of August. That will be in Corrigan Hall. And then the semifinals and final, we come full circle. We are back to Otaward City Gym on the 23rd of August. So, Matt Turner, the question we all want to know, who have you got making it through to that final in Otaward City Gym?
So on my blue, you're looking at this on YouTube, Soriano is my number 1 seed. So I have Suzu Suzuki and Ami Sori. So I have Suzu winning. That'll set up Soriano versus Suzu Suzuki. On the bottom, I have Sari as the number 1 seed. That sets up Bozilla versus Momo Watanabe. I have Momo Watanabe winning because who does not want to see Momo Watanabe and Sari wrestle again? On the right-hand side, Red Stars, I have Saya Kamatani as the bye. That sets up Starlight Kid versus Hanan. I have Starlight Kid getting the win, setting up Saya Kamatani versus Starlight Kid. Again, folks, not only matches, you have to think about what's going to draw tickets and pay-per-view buys. I have Natsupoi as the number 1 seed. That sets up B. Priestley and Azumi, with Azumi going through. That will set up Azumi versus Natsupoi. So back over to the blue block. I have Soriano versus Suzu Suzuki. I have Soriano making it to the next round. That sets up Momo Watanabe versus Sari. I have Sari getting the win. That's setting up Soriano versus Sari. On the right side of the block, on the Red Stars, Starlight Kid and Saya Kamatani. Starlight Kid, white belt versus red belt champion. I have Starlight Kid getting the win. And then Azumi versus Natsupoi. This is the one, Rob, I was talking about 3 hours ago where I kept looking back at my tablet and I don't know which way it was going to go. I have Azumi going through. Now, after what happened today, I'm really unsure, but I wrote it down. I'm sticking to it. So my final 4, Rob Goodwin, is Sari versus Soriano and Starlight Kid versus Azumi. I have Sari defeating Soriano, Starlight Kid defeating Azumi. In my finals, I have Starlight Kid defending the honor of Stardom. Again, you want to get her over more as a babyface, defeating Sari in the finals. So I have Starlight Kid winning the tournament over Sari in the finals, Rob Goodwin.
I mean, I can absolutely see that happening. And I think that's a really good story as well, because they have made a tremendous amount of Sari basically talking down to the rest of the Stardom roster. And I think that's really key. That's a really good bracket, man. That's a really good bracket.
Now, do you want Andy Hedder's bracket, or do you want to go into the Zorro world on Amber's bracket?
Oh, let's do Amber's. Amber's is chaos. I love it.
So we have Ami Sori as the bye. That's Momo Watanabe and Saida. So Momo Watanabe wins, setting up Momo Watanabe and Ami Sori. We have Soriano on the bye, Suzu Suzuki and Konami. Konami wins. That sets up Sori Anu versus Konami. On the Red Stars block, Saya Kamatani is the 1 seed. We have Tomoka Inaba and B. Priestley. Tomoka Inaba going through, setting up Tomoka Inaba and Saya Kamatani. Who doesn't want to see that? Azumi is the 1 seed. So we have Mei Sarah and Sayaka Kurora. Love it. She has Mei Sarah going over. Back over to the Blue Stars. Ami Sori and Momo Watanabe. Ami Sori going through the next round. Konami and Soriano. She has Konami going through. Going back over to the Red Stars bracket, she has Tomoka Inaba and Saya Kamatani. She has Saya Kamatani going through, and then Azumi versus Mei Seira. She has Azumi defeating Mei Seira. So her final four is Amisori, Konami, Saya Kamatani, and Azumi. In the most unpredictable finals, she has Amisori versus Azumi, and her overall winner, Amisori. I said, sweetheart, there will be maybe 1,000 people that will send in, have somewhat of a prediction. I think you may be the only person that has Amisori winning the whole thing. Now, back to the real world, Rob Goodwin. Let's go to Andy Hedder's bracket, which he has on the top left, again, if you're watching this on YouTube, Blue Stars. Bozil is the number 1 seed, setting up Suzu Suzuki versus Amisori. He has Amisori going through. A lot of love for Amisori in this bracket.
A lot of love for Ami.
You go to the bottom left on Blue Stars. Sari is the 1 seed. She gets the bye. Soriano and Momo Watanabe, setting up another rematch. Momo Watanabe and Sari. I mean, Andy Hedder kind of on the same page there. Over the right side of the bracket, Saya Kamatani is the 1 seed. Natsupoi versus B. Priestley, setting up the next matchup. B. Priestley going through, setting up B versus Saya Kamatani. Starlight Kid getting the bye on the bottom right-hand part, setting up Hanan versus Azumi. He has Hanan beating Azumi, setting up Hanan versus Starlight Kid. Back over to the left side of the bracket, Bozilla versus Amisori. He has Bozilla going through, and then Sari defeating Momo Watanabe. So your final match in the Blue Stars is Bozilla versus Sari. We've seen that before, good sir. We have seen that before. Saya Kamatani defeating B. Priestley. Hanan defeating Starlight Kid. So we have Saya Kamatani versus Hanan. His finals is Sari versus Hanan, with Sari winning the whole entire thing.
Wow. I thought you said we were going back to realism with Andy Hedder.
Maybe a little bit, but you know what's really cool? We're probably going to have 4 different winners. So, sir, please indulge us. Saving the best for last, good sir. How does your tournament shaking out with Megaton versus Fuking Death?
Just imagine. I don't think there's enough seats in Out Award for that. So I'm going to do the entirety of the blue side first. So the Blue Stars A1, I've got Bozilla. So she gets the bye straight through to the quarterfinal, which means that the playoff is Momo Watanabe versus Amisori. I've got Momo Watanabe going over Amisori there, saying up Bozilla versus Momo. At the bottom, then, Sari was my blue block B winner. So I've got her going through to the quarterfinal straight away, which sets up Soriano versus Suzu Suzuki. I've got Suzu going through there to set up Suzu versus Sari. Momo versus Bozilla. I've got Momo winning. I've got Sari winning as well to set up Momo versus Sari 2 Electric Boogaloo. Because, of course, why wouldn't we do that again, as you mentioned? However, I've got Momo Watanabe going over Sari to make it through to the final. But who will meet her, Matt Turner? Who will meet her out of Red Stars? Well, on the top of the Red Stars bracket, B. Priestley I've got as the number 1 seed, so she goes through to the quarterfinal, which means I've got Rena versus Hanan. Hanan going through to meet B. Priestley in the quarterfinals. At the bottom, I've got SLK as the number 1 seed, which means I've got Matt Turner, Natsupoi versus Saya Kamatani.
I've seen that before.
We have seen that before, and this was the thing I was most excited to talk about because I want to see that again. Natsupoi, I haven't got winning this tournament. Saya Kamatani, I haven't got winning this tournament. So how do we set this up again? By Natsupoi rolling up Saya Kamatani to make it through to the quarterfinal against Starlight Kid. It makes sense. You know, Saya Kamatani isn't going to win it as the champion, I don't think. Again, I'm not going to be disappointed if she does. But Natsupoi then gets that momentum shifting win. Now, that obviously leaves us with B versus Hanan, with Hanan going over B. Priestley. I have got B beating Hanan earlier in the tournament, so it's a little bit of revenge there. And Natsupoi going over Starlight Kid in the quarterfinal to set up Hanan versus Natsupoi. Natsupoi making it through to the final, which means we've got Momo Watanabe versus Natsupoi in the grand final. Matt Turner, you talked about that magazine cover, the crown everything coming down. You can imagine it. And that is why I have got Momo Watanabe going over Natsupoi, Natsupoi falling at that last hurdle. You can see it. You can see the tears, the devastation. She's fallen again. She can't get the job done. It'll all come round full circle. She's got a victory over Starlight Kid. She's got a victory over Saya Kamatani. We will run that red belt match back again. However, Momo Watanabe is the winner of the 5-star Grand Prix 2025. And I cannot wait, Matt Turner, for none of that to happen and Rian defeating Aya Sakura in the final.
Ami Sourei wins the whole thing. So really great stuff, buddy. Again, as always, my man. I mean, the homework you did too. Again, if you're listening to this, thank you. But you definitely take the time to watch it on YouTube. All damn near 4 hours of this, because the heart and passion Rob put into these slides are just unbelievable. Next level effort, as always, buddy. Greatly appreciate all the hard work you put into the show. And this makes it so cool. All 4 of us had all really different things. Other than the fact that 3 or 4 of us, the ones that follow Stardom, have Momo Watanabe and Sari meeting each other again in the playoffs. So that means that's not going to happen whatsoever. But again, it's a really open field. It's a really open field. They planted the seeds for a lot of wrestlers to win this thing, and really excited to see who comes out of this, my friend, because there really is no wrong answer. As long as they keep that red belt on Saya Kamatani going towards, there's really no wrong answer. But my thing is, I think Starlight Kid will drop the white belt. I think she wins the tournament as white belt champion, thus raising the prestige of the white belt. Then I think she either drops it to Tomoka Inaba or Azumi on the way to Dream Queendom. But I think Kamatani and Kid is the way to go. And Ryugo Kaka Keegan, Rob Goodwin, but I guess we shall find out, my brother.
And we will be there as well. What a way to bust our sumo hall cherry, let's say. Ladies and gentlemen, that does bring us to the end of a gargantuan episode. We hope you have enjoyed our rather in-depth primer for the 2025 5-star Grand Prix. We really appreciate every single one of your support. Thank you so much for it. If you haven't already subscribed to the podcast, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a comment and a 5-star review. We are literally everywhere, and it really does help us out massively in terms of being exposed to even more people. You can find us on Patreon, patreon.com/the Stardom Cast, where you can get all of the episodes early and ad-free for as little as $1 a month. Don't forget, all of the news and our bite-sized show reports and previews are now on Patreon exclusively, but they are free. You don't have to sign up or anything. You can just check them out. So please do. It is worth it, I promise. You can find us on social media at the Stardom Cast, apart from on Threads, Blue Sky, and Instagram, where we are at Talk Joshi. You can talk to me on Twitter at Real Rob Goodwin. Mr. Matt Turner, for the love of all that is holy, please sign us off, good sir.
Folks, questions, comments, suggestions, anything you need from me, Matt Turner OF, on the Instagram, the Twitter, and the Blue Skies. Easiest, fastest, and bestest way to get a hold of me. Or you could shoot me an email. The email address, folks, it's really easy. It's simply the StardomCast22@gmail.com. Folks, that's going to wrap it up for our annual 5-star primer. We greatly appreciate your support. Can't do without you. It's like I always say, just not my podcast. It's our podcast, because when we're all together, everybody's different. Everybody's special.